including drought, famine, and floods, have all had a huge toll on children, leaving them vulnerable. And it's also, I forgot to mention that in 2011 itself, 250,000 people lost their lives in Somalia. Let's take a moment for that to sink in, because half that number, and it's very sad to say, were children. Half that number who died during that time, they were children. So it's 13 years later since that famine happened in Somalia. And here we are today again, talking about child hunger and malnutrition. But we are talking it in terms of commitment. We want to show commitment that we are ready to fight and end child malnutrition and hunger. But the pictures and the images that still surround Somalia cannot be ignored, because close to 2 million children aged 6 to 59 months face acute malnutrition in 2024. As we sit here today, almost 430,000 are likely to be severely malnourished. So you can see that number still, it's very high, and it's one of the reasons we're here today, to fight hunger and malnutrition among our children. And I would like to pose a question to everyone here. How do we expect our children to compete with their peers in developed countries if they are struggling and thinking about whether or not they will find a decent meal at home when they go back in the evening, or they are in school and they don't know where the next meal will come from, or they are forced not to go to school but to accompany their parents, maybe with their livestock, in search of pasture, water, and food. So you see, we will always continue to lag behind in terms of human capacity for our children if they cannot be able to compete and engage with their peers in developed countries. On a personal capacity, I'm a father of 2 kids. I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. And every other time before I have my meal, I think the first thing I do is I contact my family and ask them if the kids are okay and if they've eaten something. So I think we should all commit to ensure that no children in Somalia or even in the world are forced to go hungry or malnourished because of food. Food is a basic need, and they should be able to get it, and they should not be able to worry if or not they can get it. So I challenge all of us here today to say enough, and not just say enough, to follow it up with serious commitment in terms of the government, the private sector, the donor community, the international partners, civil society, and all children rights organizations. So on that note, I hope I didn't brag a lot. I just shared with you my own personal experiences as a journalist who's worked with several international media outlets here in Somalia and outside the world. So on that note, I would like to welcome you all once again to this important Enough campaign by World Vision. The campaign is a call to end child hunger and malnutrition with a hope for a world where every child enjoys enough nourishing food so that they can thrive. One more announcement is the campaign is also active on social media, especially on the X platform, formerly Twitter. Our hashtags are enough, end child hunger now, and say enough. So feel free to use the following hashtags when tweeting or when sharing it on social media. I would like also to acknowledge the important role that is played by World Vision here in Somalia, and I would like us to give them a round of applause for organizing this important event. Okay, so as we continue the program, and we await for the arrival of our chief guest, the Deputy Prime Minister of Somalia, His Excellency Salah Jama, I would like to welcome to the stage Mr. Kevin Paul Maki, the National Director for World Vision Somalia, And before I introduce him to come to the stage, I would like to say that Mr. Kevin has been working in the humanitarian and development field for the past 20 years, where he started in Benin, in West Africa, as a Peace Corps volunteer. And he joined World Vision as an accountability officer and later as a zonal manager in the Sri Lanka Tsunami Response Program, and finally World Vision Somalia in 2008. He also served in a number of roles in Somalia, including Humanitarian Emergency Affairs Manager, the Program Development Unit Manager, the Response Manager, the Operations Director, Program Development, and also the Quality Assurance Director. He's also Senior Advisor to the Food Security Cluster, and is also currently the Chief of Party for the Somali Resilience Program, SOMREP. I think he's a man of very many titles, and it will be a great honor to invite you so that you can elaborate on the launch for today. Welcome, Excellency.
So my job is simple. Mine is to first recognize those that have come today, to say good morning, and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to come here and to discuss this important topic. First, I'd like to start by making some acknowledgments. As mentioned, we are waiting the arrival of the Deputy Prime Minister, but we appreciate his support and participation in this event. We also like to acknowledge Your Excellency, the Deputy Minister of Agriculture and Irrigation, Honorable Zara Yusuf Ige. Your Excellency, Deputy Minister of Communications, Honorable Ahmed Diriye. Your Excellency, Deputy Commissioner of the Somali Disaster Management Agency, Dr. Ahmed Abdi Aden. Your Excellency, Honorable Hawako Sokor Ali, Chair of the Parliamentary Committee on Human Rights, Women and Humanitarian Affairs at the Somali Federal Parliament House of the People, and also other distinguished members of Parliament. Lilian Donzo, our East Africa Regional Leader for World Vision, Director Generals of the Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs and Agriculture, the various child right advocates who've joined us today, the children joining us in the discussions today, our UN partners, OCHA, WFP, UNICEF, and FAO, civil society actors, local and national governmental, non-governmental actors, and finally our donors, whose generosity enables much of what we're currently doing and what we can do moving forward. I hope all protocols observed. The Enough campaign is World Vision's effort to mobilize our humanitarian and development partners and peers' collective voice against child hunger and malnutrition. We recognize that the task of ending malnutrition is the work of many hands. We understand that the task before us is a difficult one. There's an estimated 1.7 million children aged 6 to 59 months who face acute malnutrition, including 430,000 who likely are severely malnourished. We believe that this is unacceptable. Today, we hope to unpack the reasons for these stark numbers, and the structural and technical issues which lead to them. We hope to explore how conflict and the impacts of climate change are making it harder for families to put food on the table. We will listen to Somali children to understand how food security impacts their health, families, and their future prospects. World Vision is at the forefront of humanitarian development and peace programming in Somalia, and we've been there since 1993, working in hard-to-reach locations with our government partners, our local partners, and others, addressing the underlying causes of poverty and to lift vulnerable households out of malnutrition. Currently, World Vision supports 266 health and nutrition sites to reach over 1 million children with nutrition and food security programs. To address hunger in Somalia, we strengthen livelihoods, promote access to markets and financial services, increase access to health, nutrition, protection, and education services. We also work closely hand in hand with government and civil society to lead development and advocate for policies that support sustainable development, inclusive governance, and continued access to services for children. In this room are assembled many of the people who are best placed to take action to ensure that every child enjoys nourishing food so that they can thrive. And as such, we will look at the opportunities to improve the situation. In the immediate term, how we can effectively mobilize our networks of supporters to raise public awareness to the need for humanitarian assistance, ensuring there's enough food available for the food insecure. Despite funding constraints and scaling down, humanitarian assistance continues to play a critical role in preventing a worsening of food insecurity and nutrition outcomes in Somalia. However, high levels of food insecurity and acute malnutrition will persist throughout mid-2025 if additional funding is not secured to scale up and sustain humanitarian assistance to address hunger. With an eye to the future, we will explore through policy advocacy, influence, new infrastructure investments in stronger markets and better farming practices, how we can tap the full potential of the country's 8.9 million hectares of irrigatable land, rich coastal resources, and sustainably manage the country's rangeland resources, which are the foundation of the livestock sector, which is also a large proportion of the economy. There's also high potential to leverage the rich soils, particularly in the riverine areas, coupled with warm temperatures to support year-round production of cereals, pulses, vegetables, fruits, and other agricultural products that are important for child nutrition. In Somalia, children are continuing to bear the brunt of the unequal food system disrupted by conflict and climate change. Every child deserves the food they need to develop healthy body and mind. Every family has the right to put enough of the right food on the table. World Vision cannot end hunger and malnutrition alone in Somalia. And we look forward to our valued partnership with all of you here to address these challenges. Your presence and your support in our collective effort to address this critical issue of child hunger and malnutrition in Somalia is important. Together we make significant and lasting impact on the lives of children and families in need. And we thank you for being here today. And now let's begin the launch of this important campaign. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was the director of World Vision, the country director of World Vision Somalia, Mr. Kevin Maki. It's a man who's dedicated most of his life in the humanitarian field. And as we still continue to await the arrival of our chief guest, we're going to have a video played, the Enough campaign video, and a call to action from children. Let's enjoy the video.
A life of plenty for every child has always been possible. We have enough.
Chega.
The reality. We have enough.
Chega. Suficiente.
A life of plenty for every child has always been possible. But that's not the reality. Instead, many places in the world have plenty of hardship.
This is scary. This war.
And need.
Las plantas se están resecando.
Child hunger and malnutrition is the worst it's been in generations. But a solution is possible today. Now is our time. We've had enough all along. Now, we've had enough. It's time to make sure there's enough choice for every child. Enough nutritious food, produced responsibly and sustainably, so children can thrive everywhere. When we stand together, we can be a force to end child hunger and malnutrition. Let's come together. From every country, and every background. And stand with children to say, we've had enough. Now it's our time to join together and say, enough. Take action today at www.wvi.
Thank you very much. I think the message from the children is very clear. They have had enough. And I think we should all commit ourselves and say enough. No child should go hungry. No child should worry about their next meal. And no child should drop out of school in the hope that they might get food on the way, or are forced to abandon their source of livelihood just because of hunger, or even die because of lack of food. I think let's all commit, not just by word of mouth, but by tangible actions. Everybody should play his part and his role, even at the community level, to support those who are well off, should support those in need. Now, as we're still awaiting the arrival of our chief guest, I would like to call to the stage the Advocacy and External Engagement Director for World Vision East Africa to give us a brief highlight of the campaign, what it entails, and what it is all about. Over to you, Madam Ruth Koshal.
Thank you very much, and good morning again. Your Excellencies, members of the donor community, UN agencies, World Vision, the government, all protocols observed. And most of all, children as well, good morning again. I'd like to share with you some of the highlights of the Enough campaign, and I will summarize it in a way that we can all understand in terms of why are we saying enough and what is this 3-year campaign about. So the campaign is for 3 years, from this year, 2024, to 2026, and we hope to join together. We have a great vision that we all hope to work together. A world where every child enjoys enough, nourishing food and thrives. Where does this come from? It's good to understand that it's closely linked to the Sustainable Development Goals, number 2, which talks about ending hunger and nutrition. So within our goals, we look at, first, children need to be seen, heard, and prioritized. And I trust today during the launch, we will have that opportunity. And then secondly, children need to be better fed, nourished, and resilient. So what are the results we're hoping to achieve for the next 3 years in partnership with all of you in the room today? The first result is we want to count hungry and malnourished children to better reach them. So we need data on hunger, malnutrition, food insecurity. Secondly, we would really encourage children's voices to be heard. They need to be part of the process to shape decisions and policies at the federal level, at the state level as well. And if we also look at sustainable and climate-smart agriculture, this is very key as one of our results. Now, in order to have children who are better fed, nourished, and resilient in hunger, nutrition, and food security policies, programs, and interventions, we also need to address food and cash assistance. And this must reach the most vulnerable, children, their families, and their communities. And I'm really excited to hear that the ministry is now called the Ministry of Family and I believe human rights. So the family needs to be reached, especially the most vulnerable children within that. School meals programs are also another area where the government takes the lead and we collaborate with others to distribute school meals, and school meals are very essential, especially when we're looking at education outcomes, not just for the girl child, but also for the boy child, because data has shown us when we provide school meals, we encourage children to come. We're also looking at micronutrient supplementation and gender transformative programs. Those are extremely key. And this is again linking to the importance of teenage girls and women in reproductive ages to get these micronutrients. We also need qualified and sufficient child health workers and essential nutrition services. So this is very key. Okay. I think I will continue until I'm told otherwise. So when we look at essential and qualified and sufficient child health workers and essential nutrition services, this should reach all children at the state level, at the federal level, and also food regulations. So what are some of the key messages we're really hoping that will each come out of this Enough campaign? The first one, and I'm reiterating but in a simplified way, is we need to listen to children. Let us all listen to children. And I think it's really exciting when we partner with like-minded organizations. We had the opportunity to visit UNICEF and just share about, the role of the children and listening to children in the campaign. But we know we have a lot of civil society, government agencies, and other partners. Children need to be counted. Nutrition policies and services at all levels. School meals can change the world. And we need enough funding for malnutrition. And enough of the right food for children in crisis. Thank you very much.
Continue. You're finished. Your Excellency, the Deputy Prime Minister of the Federal Republic of Somalia, His Excellency Salah Jama, Your Excellency Dr. Ali Haji, the Minister of Health and Human Services of the Federal Republic of Somalia, the Deputy Minister for Agriculture and Irrigation, Honorable Zahra Yusuf Ige, the Excellency Deputy Minister for Communication, Ahmed Diriyeh, the Excellency the Deputy Commissioner of the Somali Disaster Management Agency, Dr. Mohammed Abdi Aden, Your Excellency Honorable Hawa Sokor Ali, the Chair of the Parliamentary Committee on the Human Rights, Women and Humanitarian Affairs at the Somali Federal Parliament, distinguished members of Parliament, Your Excellency Lilian Dodzo, the East Africa Regional Leader of World Vision, Your Excellency Kevin Mackey, the Country Director for World Vision Somalia, Director Generals of the Ministries of Labor and Social Affairs and other ministries present here today, child rights advocates, our dear children, civil society organizations, donors and partners present here today, also the World Vision staff, international, both present here and those joining us online. I would like to welcome you all to this important day. We are here to discuss the future of the face and the future of Somalia, our children. Your Excellency, the Deputy Prime Minister, it's a great honor to have you at this important launch where we are saying that enough and we are trying to end child hunger and malnutrition. And your presence here today alongside members of the Somali Cabinet and the Parliament is a clear testimony of the willingness and the commitment on behalf of the Somali federal government to ensure that no child in Somalia will go hungry at any given time. Excellency, as we officially start this important event, I would like to make one announcement that there's a campaign signature board on the other side there, and we can put our signatures there to ensure that our commitment to fighting hunger in children and also fighting malnutrition. So, Excellency, the Deputy Prime Minister, in front of you is the team from World Vision International and World Vision Somalia as well, members of the international community who play an important role in fighting hunger and malnutrition in Somalia from various UN agencies. And also like to acknowledge the presence of Somali non-governmental organization and the NGO Consortium also for their important role in fighting child hunger and malnutrition here in Somalia. Excellency, while you were away, we opened the event and we managed to listen to the speech from Mr. Kevin Mackey, the World Vision Director for Somalia, and also we listened to the campaign overview of the event. So right now we are moving to the third stage where we're going to have a panel discussion that will be moderated by Mr. Mjabuli Jamela from World Vision. I'm going to call you to the stage so that you can invite your fellow panelists here in Somalia. And also like to acknowledge also the important role that the government of Somalia is playing. There's the creation of the Ministry of Climate Affairs. It shows that the federal government is indeed committed to tackle the root cause of climate change, because we are living in a country where repeated climate-related shocks have been rather frequent. Drought, famine, floods, and then the cycle repeats itself again. So I think it's good to have that commitment. And also I'd like to acknowledge the presence of a very dear friend who has been recently appointed as the Director of Food Security and Climate Change at the Office of the Prime Minister, Mr. Abdulhakim Ainte. Thank you for your presence here today. Over to you, Mr. Mjabuli Jamela.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. All protocols observed. I'm inviting the panel members to come and take their seats, if they can come on stage. Sumaya, come please. Please take this. Okay, it seems we're all set up. So the idea is building on the concept which our country director, Kevin, highlighted earlier. The work of fighting malnutrition, hunger and child malnutrition is is a work of many hands. So not one person, not one agency is able to deal with the challenge of hunger and malnutrition. So what we did is we have a panel that represents people from different agencies. We've got some government representatives, we have some UN representatives, and also we've got a child representative. As we started, we talked about how we have to include children in all the processes of this campaign, and also as we fight malnutrition. So I'm going to ask questions to the panelists, who are going to be then responding and giving us insights into their thoughts and the work that they are already doing in terms of contributing to this Enough campaign, realizing that the time to act is now. So our first panelist, maybe we'll start by introducing your name before you respond to the question, and then you can respond to the question. So my first question goes to our child representative, who is the star of the day, Sumaya. You can. So we'd like you to tell us, how does a world without hunger look like to you? We envisage a world without hunger, but what does it look like to you as a child? Over to you.
Thank you. My name is Sumaya Abdiaziz Mohammed from Hilal International Academy. My name is Sumaya Abdiaziz from Hilal International School. So I think if there is no hunger in this world, everyone will get access to nutritious food and affordable food. So there will be no malnourished children, and everyone or every family can afford their next meal. Meaning, if there is no hunger in this world, children will be able to go to schools, so they will attend school. As children attend school, they will be able. Families will not struggle to afford their next meal. As the world deals with hunger, the levels of poverty will reduce, and children will be able to go to school as they concentrate better, since they're not worrying about food.
Thank you, Sumaya, for sharing your insights of how a world without hunger looks to you as a child. Thank you very much for your response. My next question is directed to the Ministry of Agriculture, and we have our Honorable DG. Maybe I'll ask him to introduce himself before I can ask the question. Okay, let me ask the question, and then you can introduce yourself, and then you can answer the question as well. So as a Ministry of Agriculture, we are interested in understanding the policies that you have in place that contribute towards ending child hunger and malnutrition. And also if there are any policies under development that you'd want to speak to. This is the opportunity. So over to you, our DG.
Good morning, everybody. Deputy Minister, other ministries, and different organizations. I observed protocol. Everybody, his position and his name he is presenting this meeting. First of all, before I go that, for example, myself, I'm Professor Mahmoud Mohammed, Director General of Ministry of Agriculture. the question of the policy. The Ministry of Agriculture has a policy for Somalia rich food sufficiency. Nutrition in that. If there is you have malnutrition, there is not food. Where there is enough food, there is not malnutrition. But coming in reality, the problem of children today in Somalia is not, there is not less production. But what happened? For example, every day fresh milk is coming in the rural area. If it doesn't be sold the same day, next day has no use. Vegetables and fruits are coming from the farmers to the markets in the city. If cannot be sold next day, there's not anymore, So what need is a food safety. For example, the vegetable, wherever you go, there's a cold chain. There's a market, they keep the vegetable for longer time. So people, they can continually consuming, buying it there. Fresh milk, we don't have even a small factor. We just keep the fresh milk. So the families, they can buy every day and give fresh milk to their, children. What we are using? We're using a border, we know whatever it composite, the content of that border. Are they from planties or from animal or from where? So for taking care of when talking geld, for example, for the ministry, usually we have policy to produce food. Food is all party, all kind. But the having, the geld, daily needed, because you see, for example, there is a small-scale industry. The geld then from the farmer. For example, if I have sorghum or maize or rice or fruits, maybe the geld cannot make himself to observe the vitamins he like, but it's prepared for. Develop the small-scale industry, develop, other stuff, so the geld, they take that. So we make a different way. For example, malnutrition and hunger comes from less of food. So there has to be food enough. But for when you come to Somalia, there is food safety problem. So if there is, we get assisted on this, then that will be, will be possible that the children will every day get, what they need. Second, for example, I was, before I got that, for example, mission, the World Vision role, we were thankful, we welcome. I can recall back sometime, 93. We were together working in Bay region. I was with FAO, and that time we used to go to the field distributing food and vegetables to the villages. So I'm sure, thank you for still you are. But again, I just to mention that it's the first day to have like this meeting, this launching. So all that I welcome to you today that you come out. You are out, but you are alone. Today we are together. The Prime Minister is there, or Deputy Minister, to open the launch, and I'm sure we'll be shoulder to shoulder to just continue, and we are closer than before. So this is great, welcome. And for the, the policy, the Minister of Policy is the same you are mentioning. We are just having a policy to produce enough food. And besides, we have other factors, problems, but putting that aside, we have the policy, and that policy indicates that, for, the different, let it be cereal, let it be, vegetables, whatever, enough food to produce for Somalia. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for highlighting also one aspect, that having enough food produced is one, but also there is need to make sure that food is preserved and value added onto that food as we go up the chain. The next question goes to the Director of Food Security and Climate Change in the Prime Minister's Office. We know that you have been working in the area of food security, food systems for a long time, and would like you maybe to highlight some of the key approaches that you are using to strengthen food security in Somalia, and this food security thereby contributes towards ending child malnutrition and hunger. Also, please feel free to mix a little bit of English and Somali so that we can cater for all the audience. Over to you.
Thank you so much. In fact, I should have said that, a panel like this should have been carried out in Somalia because of, a giant brain like our DJ should have better articulate in Somali while the audience is, most of it is Somali. But again, before I answer that, I'm very much aggravated by Sumaya. So she deserves a big warm of applause. She's very courageous, very young. And the way she really presents herself is such a very heroic. So thank you so much. For a full disclosure, I have no background in food security or whatsoever. I actually been pulled into the office a few months ago by my boss, the Deputy Prime Minister here, and he asked me to see if I can help him organize around the policy on food security with regard to the climate change in the country. So let me step back for a second, then I'll answer to your question. Number one, Somalia has been sort of the quintessential face of the food crisis over the last 30 plus years. It's no secret that we've gone through in every 2, 3 years, 4 years, there's such a food insecurity that creates hunger, and then again creates also a famine. And we have become sort of the face of the global food crisis. And all is primarily because of there is a failure, and that failure primarily stems from our inability as a government institutions to organize our society to withstand the shocks that are recurrent, that are cyclical in nature. That's number one. Number two is because of we have prolonged 30 plus years of a systemic humanitarian crisis, then become a major problem for us, that even our resilient livelihood and institutions and even as a society have eroded to the point that we could not even address one single problem, let alone, there's a famous saying in Somalia, even in times of a rain, we cannot even manage. Whenever there is a rain, there's a crisis, even when there's a lack of food. So both blessing and curse, we don't know how to mitigate or address. And it has a long history. I'm not going to do that. So what are we doing now as a government? As you know, the government now is putting in place a very bold and brave national transformational plan. I'm not sure how much of you is very much aware. So the national transformation plan articulates a very bold vision that has a four core pillar, one of which is the climate resilience and food security. And that pillar has a big vision in it on how we can end the root causes of this food insecurity, hunger, which is, again, the cyclical nature as an institution as Somalia that we're facing, the humanitarian one. So underneath of it is the climate questions, the climate shocks that are keep coming in every 4 3-year cycle. So how do we address that? That's the big question. And then how we also build our infrastructures, our resilient infrastructures, so that whenever there's a shock or crisis, we have the ability to withstand. So by doing that, there are a few cases that I can draw. Number one, FO and WFP, they have actually launched a program a few weeks ago where the Deputy Prime Minister was in Johor, I remember, and they were aiming to really invest in some of the core infrastructures that can withstand those challenges. Stuff like that are the major priority within the National Transformational Plan. So as you know, the National Transformation Plan is a continuation of the National Development Plan, which is sort of the anchor vehicle for the development plan for the next 5 years. In it has this pillar, like I said, the resilience, which will then address this question of the humanitarian, how we can invest in our resilience infrastructure, adaptation, mitigation, so on and so forth. With regard to the food security, we have also we've launched a National Food Security Nutrition Council in September last year, where it tries to organize the politics and the policies around the food security and nutrition, and it has a big commitment in it which will aim to address and at least eradicate quite significantly the level of poverty and hunger that we have. So these are small sort of plans and priorities and interventions within the grand scheme of the crisis that we are facing in the country. So I'm sorry to say that I don't have a one single bullet or silver answer to your question, but what I say is that in every national development we have, for the last 10 plus years, we had 3 successive development plan, NDB 8 and NDB 9. Now we are NDB 10. NDB 8 got us into ending transitional government of Somalia. NDB 9 delivered us the debt relief, the joining of the East African community, the so on and so forth. We're hoping the next major bold plan, which is a transformational plan, should help Somalia, first and foremost, at least to come out and put an end to this protracted humanitarian crisis. Unless we find a durable solution to this, I don't think so we can talk about. So I'll stop by here, and I'll happy that we can, if there are a few follow-up questions that I can address. But thank you so much, and sorry that I wasn't able to provide you.
Thank you very much, and also for underscoring the issue of climate change, which is also some of the root causes of the problem that we are talking about. And thank you for highlighting the different infrastructures, the policy frameworks that are there. And I would like to challenge the House to say the time is now. So when we have things on paper, the time to implement those policies, the time for action is now. Yes.
I hate to come back to mics always. But thanks World Vision for coming out with this bravery of enough. It's a good, but that's not the answer. The answer is, how do you translate this enough into reality? That's the real questions. I'm all the time and always, and this is where my boss and our boss is always troubled by, is that the easy part is launching a big and ambitious program. But the reality is, how do you translate those into actionable factors? How do you address the question that Sumaya was talking about? Having a food basket on the table of every kids. We're talking about a 3.8 million population of people who are on the borderline of extreme malnutrition or food insecurity. That's not an easy job. We're talking about significant portion of our society are on the borderline, literally on the borderline, having a food insecurity. That cannot be an easy. A campaign like this should be amplified, should be accelerated, should be also given to Somali people to have addressed. Sumaya should be the face of this campaign, okay? We as a government would only provide the mechanism, the policy mechanism that's available. So again, I would encourage, with the presence of other UN agencies here, that we have to hold ourselves accountable. Unless we do not do that, we'll keep coming back to the Cal Hotel, launching same programs, and nothing would happen. 3.8 million people of Somalis are on the line. So that is the stuff that we have to keep in mind.
Thank you. Thank you also for promoting Sumaya to be the face of the campaign. So we are running out of time. So Gigi, if you can give us a brief, and then we go to our next 2 panelists.
I thought you said Adi Somali. So then I have to just repeat what I said. Could you allow me?
No. In the interest of time, if you can just say it in 1 or 2 sentences.
Yeah, okay. In Somali. Yeah. Rally hada waxaan ugu soo noqday microphone-ka waxay ahaaday dadka nacasumana waa la hadla annaguna inaan isla hadalno. Marka waxaan dib ugu qaatay marka inaan meesha waxa la isweydiinayay nafaqada carruurta. Marka su'aasha aan marka ka jawaabno waxay ahayd iyo horta wasaaradda beeruhu siyaasad ma u leedahay nafaqada carruurta. wasaaradda beeruhu waxay u leedahay siyaasad waddankoo dhan in cunto loo soo saaro. nafaqada carruurtuna waxay ku dhex jirtaa cuntada la soo saarayo. iyadaasaa intaasoo nuuc ka kooban. laakiin intii baanaba haysa karin. intaas soo saarnay cuntada adagoos oo xabuubka iyo waxa mooy inta kale maalin kasta way naga halaabaysaa. caanihi baa naga halaabay, hilibki baa naga halaabay, qudaarti baa naga halaabaysa. marka pointigu waxa weeye hay-adaha haddii ay dhab tahay in carruurta la caawiyo waa inay naga caawiyaan meelo lagu haayo raashinka halaaba caanaha halaaba hilibka halaabaya inay la siiyo si maalin kasta carruurtu ay heli karto cuntadii oo suuqa taalla yani ha jirto abaar laakiin annaga waxaan soo saarnaa yani ilmaha xoolaha la joogaaho noloshay qabaan ha qabaano caanay haystaan waana tusaale haddaan tusaale idiin soo qaado yani muxuu ahay 91kii waxaan la shaqaynaa ICRC gobollada dhaxan aadnay ilmaha meel kastoo wax laga qaado enemiya laga waayo waana abaar waxla ilmahan caanay cabaa nutrition kuma dhacay caanihii marka freshka ahay ee noo imaalahay caawa hadday yimaadaan berri lama cabi karo marka haddii aan yeelo lahaynay nalaku caabo warshado yaryar oo caanaha lagu hagaajiyo weelal lagu shubo dadku iska soo iibsan karaan qudaartoo meelay qabo ganacsadayna laftigeeda ayaa waxay u baahan tahay in lagu geesinimada lacagta ay haayaan waa suuq bannaan maanta in la helo meelo lagu haayo cuntadoo lagu dhowro lagu kaydiyo meelo qabow meelo warshado yaryar leh waa suuq noo furan oo u baahan maalgelin haddii marka intaa lagu dhiirado malnutrition carruurtu way helaysaa cuntadii way soconaysaa matala muuskoo kaleeto yani muxuu ahay يعني فيتامين أما شرب كسمة أم بشيد أسيق حتى قب كيس أيا نفقة كجرتا أنت اللي شيد اللعب مركا أنت صورنا وحواي وحواب فرصة عن هاي السنة فسيلة تيجي أن أوقف فايدة سلهن يصير أن أوقف فايدة وحبها هنتاي إن لجار بولو سيجا برودكشن كواجرتا ولا صو ساريا لكن هذا كلون سوقات مالن كس أنت صار سوعة ولا ضادين عم بوال حراشة مركا وحبها سان ربنا ماركتي إن أنو هلنا أدرس سي أنا وجود بعدان ومد.
Thank you. The next question is for the representative from World Food Program. The goal of World Food Program is to end world hunger. So can you tell us some of your efforts that you and your partners have been doing within Somalia to end hunger in Somalia, child hunger and malnutrition?
Okay, I'll summarize. Your Excellency, the Deputy Prime Minister of Somalia, government dignitaries, and other guests, all protocol observed. I am Abdikafi Abdullahi, Program Policy Officer working with WFP. The question asked is, how is WFP contributing to the zero hunger in Somalia? Actually, the zero hunger agenda is such an extensive and it requires many hands. WFP is part of the effort, but will not be able to address itself. So we are already working with a spectrum of partners, more particularly with the government. Our program design, implementation, and execution is very much aligned to the current national development plan and very much envisioning to align to the National Transformation Plan. We are working with multi-sectoral ministries and also engaging many development and humanitarian partners, including World Vision, to ensure that we achieve the agenda. We see the challenge surrounding to achieve that, but we are sure that collectively working together, we can achieve that. And definitely, we are also extensively engaging our prospective and generous donors to ensure that we have the needed resources to do this. Alongside that, we really recognize the need to engage the community. It is the community that need to identify their priorities and needs. So in our pursuant effort to achieve the agenda of zero hunger, we are really and extensively engaging the communities, trying the different livelihood zones in Somalia, the coastal zone, pastoral zone, agripastoral zone, and try to understand what they really need us to do for them, but not what we intend to do ourselves for them. So that is also a vision that we have recognized, that we need to align our efforts with the national government plans and also the needs of the community, which definitely is aligned to the national development plan. That being said, in terms of the program design and execution, we have a phased approach. We have already adopted phased approach program design and execution. Our programs are designed such that in the event of crisis, we have an emergency response that responds to the emergency needs. We also have designed recovery efforts that will enable people to really recover from certain shocks, which translates and puts them into resilient phase. So our programs are also designed to really transit population, not keep them for long dependence. I hear our government dignitaries saying that there is a loss of opportunity, that the milk brought to the market is not really sustainable within a day or two. So we are working through a value chain proposition. We are really trying to ensure that we work with the Ministry of Agriculture, World Vision, FAO, and spectrum of other actors to ensure that the value chain is really fixed. So these are some of the thoughts, aspirations, plans, strategies that we are envisioning. And of course, we will do that under the leadership of the government of Somalia. We hope to contribute. Our efforts are really there, and we hope collectively, we believe in a collective effort under the leadership of the government structure. Thank you.
So, Kevin, your statement that the work is a work of many hands is a quotable quote. I think it's coming out through all the speakers. And then our last question goes to Eric, who's our UNICEF, who's representing UNICEF in the panel. Eric, there's an increased frequency and severity of humanitarian crises, and we have a lot of people that are displaced and all. So in all this mix, how do we ensure that our services, our nutrition assistance, reaches the most vulnerable, the people that are in remote settings, and they are the most vulnerable of the vulnerable? Thank you. Also, if you can make your response as short as possible in the interest of time.
Thank you so much. His Excellency Deputy Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first reassure the children by declaring publicly my commitment to contribute to enough to be enough. Let me also take this opportunity to challenge all of us that the time is not now, the time is yesterday. And we have no time to waste because the issue is urgent and we need to tackle it in an urgent and urgent manner. If I would like to start by quoting a World Bank citation, good nutrition is a cornerstone of human capital development, which is the basis for strong and resilient economy. And this is extremely relevant for Somalia. It's good to talk about food security, nutrition, we save life, we take children out of disease, but let's connect to the bigger picture. The human capital development which the country needs to move Somalia ahead. Peace is coming and the country is moving ahead. How do we accelerate the process, and how nutrition and food security can contribute to that? I think this is the importance of this conversation we are having here today. If there's no food on the table, it's not possible to talk about nutrition. And I heard colleagues from agriculture, the Sun Secretariat, and WFP talking about food security, talking about value chain. I saw children also in this room dancing. But there are some children at home who cannot still hear and dance because they are too small. And we need to talk on your behalf as well. Food system is important. But in many discussions around food system I've been participating on, the youngest children are forgotten. We focus on increasing yield, sorghum productivity, and so on. We need to make sure that we create enabling environment in this country for food system while we are protecting milk, while we are saving vegetable, we also deliver for the nutrition needs of the youngest. I'm from a country where we don't have minerals. And I'm so glad that I have a witness in this room in Kevin. I'm from Benin. And the wealth of the country is its people. So I understand extremely well the importance of human capital. For this country to move where we want it to be, it's important for us to invest. The children should eat, but they should eat well. What we are seeing in Somalia is that half of the children are anemic. Somalia said they want to go to school. She said they want to concentrate. She said they want to learn. But anemic children cannot concentrate, they cannot learn. And we have evidence that when a child is anemic, there is a potential of losing 2 to 3 years in school. We have science telling us that when the diet is poor in iodine, there's a brain damage. The child cannot learn, which contributes in retardation of development. So what we are doing, Somalia is well known for emergency response, all right? And then we are treating over 1.5 million children with acute malnutrition. We should continue doing it. We should do it better. We should go to scale. But we should also start thinking about 85% of children who are in this remote community you are talking about that we are not working on now. We are focusing only on 15%. But we also need to get into the context of not leaving anyone behind. The remaining 85% are vibrant workforce for the development of the country. So UNICEF, working with partners and government, is trying to navigate a shift in the nutrition policy, aligning with government priorities to develop a prevention agenda to our nutrition work. Food system is important, but we need a multi-system approach which combines food system, health, social protection, education. We need to have legislation and policy framework in place to be able to scale up a high impact, a cost-effective intervention. This starts from the beginning of having a breast milk substitute code in place. We need to have a health and nutrition school policy. We need to revisit our food policy. And there are so many policies on which we are working with the government to ensure that the environment is conducive for this reform. So it's important for us to continue doing that. But while we do that, the big missing piece of what we are doing in this country as nutrition is early childhood development. We need to add this component to our work to make sure that we nurture the child, we support the development milestone so that they are able to grow, to learn, and contribute to the development of the country. So thank you so much.
So thank you. My role was to initiate conversation. So these are conversations that we cannot conclude today. These are conversations that we will continue to have during our time, during when we're taking tea and in the coming meetings. So we'd like to thank the panel members who agreed to be part of the panel and to represent the larger communities that are working to end hunger and child nutrition, and also the star of the day, Sumaya, who agreed to be our child representative. Thank you very much.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I think we can give them a round of applause as they exit the stage for giving us their analysis on the human hunger and malnutrition in Somalia and ways to overcome it. As our panelists are sitting, I think it is worth to note there was a statement by the Director General in the Ministry of Agriculture. He talked about policies that need to be put in place by the government to ensure that child hunger and malnutrition can be eradicated. And he posed a question to the Ministry of Agriculture and asked if the government can come up with the mechanisms in place to ensure that children can be able to overcome hunger and malnutrition by way that the government can create cold storage systems so that vegetables, milk, and fish can be able to be stored and used for later dates. So haddii aan kalmad yar af Soomaali ku dhaho agaasimaha wasaaradda beeraha iyo waraabka hal point oo qiimo leh buu ka wadawaajiyay wuxuu yiri waa in wasaaradda beeraha iyo waraabka ay la timaado policies oo dhaqangal ah si oo caruurta laga badbaadiyo macaluusha iyo baahida tusaale ahaan wuxuu u soo qaatay nidaamka oo qaboojisada qudaarta marka la soo goro si loo keediyo malaayga iyo caanaha marka tala aad u wanaagsan waay wasaaradii ku shaqada leh waxaan rajaynayaa waa siga agaasimaha ka ah inay barnaamijkaas dhaqan gelin doonto si ay aan ku dhawaaqno maanta in macaluusha iyo baahida caruurta laga hortagay. Thank you very much. I think if we go on with the program in the essence of time, our chief guest has given us his time, but he has other engagements, so we'll be a bit quick on time. I would like to call to the stage 3 children, Sumaya, Hawa, and Ahmed. waxaan u yeerayaa Sumaya, Hawa, iyo Ahmed inay halkan yimaadaan oo barnaamijkooda soo bandhigaan. maanta maalinta caruurta waay wax ka mudan male in caruurta la dhageysto. It's a day for the children, and there's nothing more important than listening it from their mouth. Sumaya, Hawa, and Ahmed. So do other.
Assalamu alaikum. Your Excellency, Honorable Salah Jama, the Deputy Prime Minister of the Federal Republic of Somalia, the government representatives and donors present, the country director leadership, and the staff of World Vision of Somali Children. Ladies and gentlemen, media personalities and all protocols observed. Greetings to you all. My name is Sumaya Abdulaziz from Hilal International School. Today, me and my colleagues have decided to put an end to child hunger. We will share with you some of the challenges which are the main problems which result from hunger and recommendations on how we will solve these issues. We, on behalf of the children of Somalia, stand united with a plea from our hearts. Despite the challenges we have in Somalia, we dream of a future where no child in Somalia goes to bed hungry, where every child thrives with the proper nutrition, and where our voices echo in the halls like this and the forums of decision making. We children understand what child hunger and malnutrition is. Child hunger is a situation where children from vulnerable families go without anything to eat for the better part of their lifetime, ending up affecting their well-being. Children face unique challenges that adults Malnutrition is when children grow without consuming balanced diet such as greeny vegetables, milk, and eggs. We children also understand that hunger as a driver for violence against children. The dire hunger situation in a Somali country, raises violence against children. When families do not have food on the table, they struggle to access it. Tensions rise, children become more vulnerable to abuse and neglect. And lack of food can also lead to child labor or even worse. This call to action has been developed by us, children representatives from Hilal International Academy, Ziad Foundation, and Mamogaso Center. To you.
Thank you so much. My name is Ahmed Mohammed Ibrahim from Hilal International Academy. Today I am here to tell some challenges that Somali children face. Challenge number 1 is climate change. Somalia faces the impact of climate change, including unpredictable rainfall patterns, prolonged and recurrent drought, and desertification. These environmental challenges disrupt agricultural practices, as adversely affecting food production and availability. Climate change has generated conflict over diminution resources, especially between pastoralist and farming communities in many parts of the country. Climate change also leads to widespread displacement and loss of life. Children across much of the country are bearing the brunt of this devastating drought and floods, crying out in hunger with limited assistance available. We recommend the following. Government to promote greener Gambay, to encourage everyone to plant trees at their homes and in public places, to mitigate climate change by absorbing CO2 emission and produce oxygen. Implement climate change education and awareness programs to inform society about how it affects food security and malnutrition. The government and the donor communities must create alternative livelihood opportunities for people engaged in deforestation to provide them with sustainable income source. We urge the government to implement a ban on tree cutting and impose fines on those found guilty of this practice. We urge the government and its partners to support the community with drought-resistant seeds and smart agriculture action that increases the number of nutritious food and their consumption in homes. Challenge number 2, inadequate access to nutritious food. During our visit to the IDP camps in Mogadishu, we observed children suffering from malnutrition due to inadequate access to food. Many of the children are forced to work in order to provide food for their families back home. The hunger they experience at night impairs their ability to function during the day. We recommend to provide high-quality food assistance to the most vulnerable children in the IDP camps, to raise community awareness and promote the consumption of locally food produced, which will help sustain our farmers. The government and its partners must train farmers in best agricultural practices and provide them with farming equipment, to introduce a robust quality control mechanism for imported food products entering the country. Thank you. Let me welcome Hawa Ahmed to continue.
Thank you so much, Ahmed, for showing us these 2 challenges. I would like to continue with challenge 3, but first I would like to start with my name, which is Hawa Ahmed. I go to the school of Hilal International Academy. So here is the 3rd challenge: lack of clean water. Somalia is prone to recurrent droughts that severely reduce water access, leaving many communities, including the IDPs, without reliable sources of clean water. Years of civil war and political instability have destroyed or damaged water treatment facilities and water infrastructure, such as wells, pipelines, and water treatment facilities, limiting access to clean water nationwide. So, I have some recommendations on how we can solve lack of clean water. The government must prioritize the construction of water infrastructures in the country and also prevent and help communities to prevent waterborne diseases which stems from the following: lack of proper sanitation and treatment of available water sources, lack of parental awareness about these diseases, while children are getting sick from these. Malnourished children are even at greater risk. The need for the government to purify and provide clean water for its citizens. Now I have challenge 4, poverty. When parents are living in poverty, they often lack the means to provide their children with quality, nutritious and clean food. As a result, the children become underweight, which then can impair their ability to focus and learn in school. Addressing the root causes of poverty, such as instability, lack of food. We need to give children nutrition and the resources they need to thrive in school and beyond. We recommend the government to further reduce the tax of essential foods to ensure people to get at affordable prices, facilitate farming activities and create more jobs for parents, increase the investment of the education sector by providing education to children nationwide, implement access to economic programs to lift people out of poverty, to create small business opportunities to enable people to have a stable income. Now I would like to welcome Sumaya to present us with our 5th challenge. Thank you.
Moving on to the 5th challenge, child participation. Children face unique challenges that adults may not fully understand. Therefore, children must be presented in all forums of discussion on matters that affect them. For example, if the government decides to make changes to the education system, they must first consult with the children as it directly impacts on their lives. So we recommend children to be specifically accounted in for governmental reports and data, rather than being generalized in adult figures. Children's perspective should be included in discussions around food security and nutritious policies. Adults may not always give enough attention to issues concerning children, even though children are quicker to notice the slightest changes in their society. The government must not ignore children's participation in key policy discussions. Otherwise, it will lead to policies that are unresponsive to children's needs and interests, which will eventually affect their overall well-being. The government must invest in children as they can serve as change agents by challenging outdated mindsets. Thank you. Over to you, Hawa.
Now, I would like to show a video of a boy named Abfitah. Abfitah and his family are struggling with poverty, and some of the time he doesn't have enough for it to eat. So I would like to share his story with you all. Thank you.
afar wiilis iyo 3 gabdho waagi aan lafta lahayn 3 waqti quraacda qadada cashada ka sameeyay laakiin markii la sanaaday hal waqti ay wax karsanay
laftii markay naga go'day waa aan baahanay caruurtiina way baahdeen baga ku wada gadoomay badidooda gaajada way la wada matageen waa u gabsan waayeen qoryo agorona waxna waa noo gali waayeen
enerjiga iyo awoodda isku fiiya kubadii dugsiga aaday waa ga dhamaadeen toosida yaraatay intaan gaaj dareemayni caruurtana ay gaaj dareemayeen waalkan soo ku lahay oo si uu soo ku lahay ku fikiray
I think we should give them a round of applause for the presentation that they did. Thank you very much, Sumaya, Hawa, and Ahmed. If I can translate a little bit of that clip that was just played there, there's a child called Abdi Fattah. Abdi Fattah is concerned about when the next meal will come. And there's one thing that touched me literally in his speech. He says sometimes he's unable to go to play soccer or football because he's hungry. So you can imagine for most of us with kids, if your child cannot be able to go out and participate or play just because the child is hungry or worried about food, then I think that is a disaster. And we should all fight and eradicate that. So thank you very much. Sumaya Ahmed iyo Hawa waa mahadsantihiin. Waxaan hadda u wacayaa bandhig yar ay samayn doonaan caruurta ka socda Mama Ugaso Foundation inay noo imaadaan wax yar muddo kooban ee madadaalada noo sameeya kadib aan marti sharafta shirka ku casuuno si aan u gabagabeeno. Waa mahadsantihiin. I'd like to call to the stage the Mama Ugaso children to provide us with a little bit of entertainment because today is the day for the Somali children. Yes, welcome. So do it. Hi.
Bismillah, magacayga waa Yaxya Maxudiin Cabdulle waxaan kamid ahay xanaanada xarunta caruurta waxaan halkan ku soo bandhigi doonaa riwaayad xiiso badan oo ah tan u qayli waxaan noo jili doonaan caruurta qaar kamid ah Mama Ugaso ku soo dhawaada daawasho wacan.
maanta waxaan baan dareemayaa mustaqbal horumaray iyo caruur wajiyada qurux badan aawe caruurtii mid aadin sheego saddex talo yar aadin sheego maanta waa dadaasheen wajiyadiina waa uu qurux badan yahay bari idinka waxaa idinku dhex jiro dadkii madaxdii dalka bedeli lahaa haddii aad idinka dadaashaan oo aad fikirtaan caruurta daryeel la'aanta ah waa horumari kartaan maanta waxaa laga heli karaa madaxweynihii waddanka waxaa idinku dhex jiro taliyihii waddanka waxaa idinku dhex jiro gaashaanlihii waddanka waxaanu isku ognahay dadaal maxaan isku ognahay alla dadaalo
shali markii oo qashin qubka ligi soo qabanayay runtii waa qaribnaaye bal feeriya maanta soo ma qurxin
bali la feeriya beento sheegay
maxaa qosle
aliya qaabkoo lacabkaada waa baqaldanaay
qaabkoo lacabka waa baqaldanaay beenaa sheegta adna maxaa qosle
qumanaayibo qubeesa maanteeshe qolofoofa ogeed
war aamusa qaladkaas rabbigaan hayso qabtee qur-aankaan barano
su'aal
jawaab
adiga mustaqbalka maxaa ku qorshaysan inaa naqati
aniya daktar khaliin yaqaan soomaali hoostimaan
dhakhtar oo khaliin yaqaan oo
soomaali hoostimaan
hay adna maxaa naqani
anaa samafala xaquuqda caruurta u doodo
samafalo oo
xaquuqda caruurta u doodo
hay adna maxaa naqani
shaqaalo qaali la dhididkiis quudinayo
shaqaalo qaali oo
dhididkiis quudinayo
hay adna maxaa naqani inaad naqato mustaqbalka
aniya abwaan suugaanta heesaa qoro
abwaan oo suugaanta heesaa qoro maasha allah hay adna maxaa naqani
aniya qani baac mushtar lacagta saas u daadinaya
qani oo
baac mushtar lacagta saas daadinaya
bal hadda dood dalkaas nooga xira ee ka dhawaajiya durbaanka
ibliis dagaal ku hayo dayarta soo korayso midkii u duufsadaahi inuu dibaada meeri madood bataa ka taagan waa maya dhammaadkii ibliis dagaalku hayo dayarta soo korayso midkii u duufsadaahi inuu dibaada meeri madood badaa ka taagan maya 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 waa maya dibjiirka dandaraysan daryeelka waalid waaye dugsiya hoyna seegin darbiga seexanaya dihaal inuu la jiifo madood badaa ka taagan maya 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 waa maya dibjiirka dandaraysan daryeelka waalid waaye dugsiya hoyna seegin darbiga seexanaya dihaal inuu la jiifo madood badaa ka taagan maya 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 waa maya dacaan cuntaa ku siiya dugsii quraana geeya dadka adduunka waayo inuu sidii dukaagii dukaagu dhuumanaayo madood badaa ka taagan maya 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 waa maya dacaan cuntaa ku siiya dugsii quraana geeya dadka adduunka waayo inuu sidii dukaagii dukaagu dhuumanaayo madood badaa ka taagan maya 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 waa maya baahi markuu dareemo dunyaana uusan haysan inoodan moodi tuugo amuu daweersanayo madood badaa ka taagan maya 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 waa maya baahi markuu dareemo dunyaana uusan haysan inoodan moodi tuugo amuu daweersanayo madood badaa ka taagan maya 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 waa maya daroogadu cabaayo daryeelka liita xoog inuu ogaatayaayo madood badaa ka taagan maya 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 waa maya daroogadu cabaayo daryeelka liita xoog inuu ogaatayaayo madood badaa ka taagan maya 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 waa maya hadduu daryeelkii waalid dowladna kaadi waayo daroogadu cabaayo mustaqbalkaa dilaysa daruufta haysa awgeed dhaxanta soo da'aysa inuu ka tiirsanaayo madood badaa ka taagan maya 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 waa maya hadduu daryeelkii waalid dowladna kaadi waayo daroogadu cabaayo mustaqbalkaa dilaysa daruufta haysa awgeed dhaxanta soo da'aysa inuu ka tiirsanaayo madood badaa ka taagan maya 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 waa maya caruurta derbi jiifka yaloode moolaani haddii daryeel la siiyo yaloode moolaani aqoonna loogu deeqo yaloode moolaani ciday difaacayaano yaloode moolaani daladka beerayaano dadkay daweynayaane yaloode moola'aanin shacabku haw dadaalo yaloode moola'aanin dowladdu haa daryeesho yaloode moola'aanin shacabku haw dadaalo yaloode moola'aanin dowladdu haa daryeesho yaloode moola'aanin daadis alaf alaf daadis alaf alaf daadis alaf alaf daadis alaf
I think they deserve another round of applause for this lovely performance. I would like to make one announcement. The kids that just presented this lovely song in front of you all, they are from an organization called Mama Ugaso Children Foundation. All of them, and I'm very sad to say, they were formerly street children. They have been rehabilitated into what you've seen here today. And I'd like to acknowledge her presence. She's the lady standing in the back there. We can give her a round of applause. She returned from the UK and came up with this initiative to help Somali children. So I think she's a perfect role model, and I think we should emulate her in the future. In the essence of time, because our chief guest has got other engagements, I would like to call to the stage the Vice President and the Regional Director of World Vision International, Lilian Dodzo, and a brief about her. Lilian has over 20 years of experience in international development and humanitarian leadership in Africa, and she's worked as a country director in Kenya, Sierra Leone, Mali, Mauritania, as well as the West African Regional Office in Senegal. So she's a person of many titles. I cannot sum up all her accomplishments. I will give the mic to her for this important launch. A round of applause, please.
Thank you so much, MC. Your Excellency, Honorable Salah Jama, the Deputy Prime Minister of the Federal Republic of Somalia, government representatives, donors and partners present, the country director, leadership and staff of World Vision Somalia, the wonderful children that we've just seen, Sumaya, Hawa, Ahmed, and the group of young men that have just entertained us. It's always a pleasure to see children leading and amongst us, articulating their well-being. Ladies and gentlemen, media personalities, let me just ride on observing all protocols to make sure that I do not miss anybody important. It's really a pleasure for me to be with you today as we launch this wonderful campaign, Enough campaign here in the wonderful Federal Republic of Somalia, with a call to end child hunger and malnutrition. Thank you to all of you for joining us this morning to amplify our voices, our collective voices, towards sustainable change and brighter futures for our wonderful Somali children. Through this global Enough campaign, World Vision International has a bold vision to not only mobilize resources and actions towards a world where every child enjoys enough nourishing food, but also to ensure that every child thrives. It is a vision we truly believe that if we put our hands together, if we put all hands on deck, is possible. Why the Enough campaign now, you may ask? Distinguished guests, the global scale of child hunger and malnutrition is astonishing. We've seen the reversals that have been caused by COVID-19, the increase of climatic events and crises that are retrogressing a lot of the development gains that we've made over the years. And it's so shocking to hear today that an estimated 148 million children under 5 are affected by stunting globally. But what is even more tragic is that 30% of those children, which represents 44 million, are here in our continent in Africa. Furthermore, globally we have 45 million children that are affected by wasting. And in Somalia alone, the prevalence of stunting is said to be at 28%, and the under 5 mortality is 111 deaths per 1,000 live births. And this is according to the Somali Health and Demographic Survey of 2020, with child wasting said to be at 12.4%. So it is these alarming statistics that really call on us to understand and recognize that the stakes for our children are very high. So we all need to be challenged and reminded to think beyond the data. Because every number that I've just called out here is a child. It's a life that is either affected or lost because of this tragic situation we find ourselves in. And each of those millions of children have their own individual story. Distinguished guests, children in Somalia and across Africa are counting on all of us in this room to join together and address the challenges of hunger and malnutrition. And the time for us to act is now. What we know is that the world has enough to provide food. The world has enough to care for every child facing hunger and malnutrition. But sadly, this is not the reality that we see right now, as the statistics have shown us. We are seeing an entire generation of children depend on us to ensure that every child has access to enough nutritious food sourced ethically and sustainably so they can thrive always and everywhere. And friends, we recognize that as World Vision, even as we launch this Enough campaign, we cannot do it alone. We were challenged by one of these directors that we need to move beyond this campaign, beyond the launch, to tangible action on the ground. So that's why the Enough campaign is aligned with Sustainable Development Goal number 2, which talks of zero hunger and supports other UN and African Union frameworks. So we are working in partnerships with all of you to declare that we want to see zero hunger here in Somalia and in our continent, Africa. And in Africa, World Vision's Transformative Development Initiative are spread across 27 countries in East, West, and Southern Africa, from rural agricultural villages to disaster, conflict, as well as fragile contexts. In East Africa, as World Vision, we are spread across 9 countries, namely Burundi, Ethiopia, Kenya, Rwanda, Somalia, South Sudan, Sudan, Tanzania, and Uganda. And in those countries, World Vision is implementing over 900 projects. And in this financial year alone, we have reached 26 million people, 16 million of whom are children, with a budget that we are grateful for because it's in partnership with our donors, the private sector, and governments, of 944 million United States dollars, and our wonderful frontline staff who interface with children every day, who number 6,500 staff. And our programs are spread across child protection, disaster management, economic development, education, food security and resilience, health and nutrition, and of course, water, sanitation, and hygiene. On the 20th of September last year, in New York, in the United States, World Vision had the privilege to launch its Global Enough campaign alongside the United Nations General Assembly. And globally, as World Vision International, we committed to focus over the next 3 years on reducing hunger and improving nutrition for over 125 million children across 67 countries globally, where they are suffering the most. And 27 of those countries are here in Africa, and 9 in our region in East Africa, including Somalia. Globally, World Vision has dedicated 3.4 billion United States dollars from private sources, institutional donors like governments and the UN agencies who are investing in our work, including Vision Fund, which provides Microsoft loans to families to support this campaign. On the 21st of February this year, I had the privilege, along with World Vision leaders from across Africa, to launch the Continental Enough campaign in Ethiopia, in Addis Ababa, on the margins of the AU Heads of State Summit. And in Africa, we made our own commitment to say we are going to raise US $1.7 billion over the next 3 years to support the realization of this Enough campaign. I am therefore delighted to witness World Vision Somalia today launch its National Enough campaign here in Mogadishu, and in the presence of so many wonderful children, government, as well as partners. Ladies and gentlemen, this campaign builds on the significant impact our work, in partnership with many of you that are in the room today, has had on the urgent and growing hunger situation confronting our continent. World Vision is currently implementing what we are calling a Global Hunger Response Phase 2, which has already reached 8 million people in Africa, after we so generously received US $184 million between October 2023 and June 2024 across 17 countries in this continent, including Somalia. During this period of the global hunger response, which ran from April 2022 to September 2023, World Vision reached over 20 million people, including 11 million children across 18 African countries, with support to address hunger and child malnutrition. But we also recognize that just as we cannot end hunger and malnutrition alone as one organization, we also cannot do so by responding in isolation from broader development and humanitarian programming needs. The Enough campaign goals are aligned and integrated in everything we do. For example, we know that drought caused by climate change can also result in children dropping out of school, girls getting married early, or children forced into child labor, further deepening their vulnerability. Here in Somalia, we are aware that the population is vulnerable to increasingly frequent extreme weather events that are driven by climate change, leading to unprecedented droughts and floods in recent years. And these extreme weather events destroy crop, they destroy livestock, compromising the livelihoods of communities and also increasing children's vulnerabilities. So we all know that climate change is a key driver of hunger in most of the world's food crises, including here in Somalia. And unfortunately, this is often compounded by conflict and insecurity, which further limits people's access to livelihood opportunities. So all these challenges of hunger and malnutrition are happening at a time when, unfortunately, food resources are also declining within the humanitarian sector, making our work of meeting every vulnerable community's needs extremely challenging. And here I'd like to quote David Beasley, the former executive director of the UN World Food Programs, when he sadly declared that we are now reaching a point where we are taking food from the hungry to give it to the starving. This is the sad reality that we are faced with today as the food resources in the humanitarian sector continue to decline and the challenges globally continue to increase. His statement emphasizes the difficult choices and trade-offs that all of us humanitarian organizations now face when allocating limited resources to those in need. I therefore call on all decision makers, on donors, on partners in development, NGOs and local NGOs to ensure that we prioritize funding and make it available to meet the ever-increasing humanitarian needs related to hunger and malnutrition. We see the reality of what is happening today in the conflict in Sudan, where millions of children are internally displaced and starving. They are fleeing to vulnerable countries like South Sudan and Chad, putting a lot of pressure on host communities. So the imperative is on us to raise enough resources and prioritize meeting the needs of those who are hungry. Distinguished guests, by uniting, we can become a powerful force in eradicating child malnutrition. It's therefore imperative that all of us not only commit to this Enough launch, but also We prioritize addressing the root causes and key drivers of hunger and malnutrition, while being sensitive also to listen to the voices of children. Let us continue to respond in a way that ensures quality programs and accountability to the children and the families that are at the heart of our work. Our children's futures here in Somalia, in the continent of Africa, and globally depend on you and I. Today, tomorrow, and for as long as it takes, let us all say enough. No child will suffer from hunger. The time for us to act is now. Let us therefore come together, join our resources and commitment to end child hunger and malnutrition in our generation. And this is the time I believe we can do it. Enough is enough. I thank you.
Thank you very much. That was Her Excellency Lilian Dodzo, the East African Regional Leader of World Vision. And I think we should repeat after her. Enough is enough. Let's repeat after her. Enough? Enough? Enough, yes. Now, in the essence of time, I would like to call to the stage His Excellency Salah Jama, the Deputy Prime Minister of the Federal Republic of Somalia, to give his speech.
Have a seat. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وزير ku-xigeenka wasaaradda beeraha, agaasimayaasha, hoggaanka hay'adda Sodma, gudoomiye ku-xigeenka, mas-uuliyiinta kala duwan ee madashan isugu timi, iyo saaxiibada beesha caalamka ay ugu horeyso hay'adda World Vision iyo asxaabta kale ee madashan fadhida, bahda bulshada rayidka ee Soomaaliyeed, dhalinyaradii sida quruxda badan ee aftahamada leh halkan ugu soo bandhigay afkaarta iyo aragtida arrintan khusaysa. dhammaantiin assalaamu calaykum waraxmatullaahi wabarakaatu. salaanka bacdi, mowduucan maanta halkan aynu u joognaa waa mowduuc run ahaantii aad u xanuun badan. waa mowduuc culayskiisa leh. waa arrin barmadow ku ah bulshaweynta Soomaaliya. in milyan iyo badh ilaa milyan iyo 800 oo carruurihii ay nafaqa darro halis u tahay mar walba oo aynu joogno. in 500 oo kun ay halis ugu jiraan waxa la yiraahdo nafaqa darro xad dhaafa oo halis gelinaysa. in labadii carruuraba midkood uu ku jiri karo duruufta la yiraahdo stunting, ama in koristiisu ay istaagto, ama wasting waxaan afka Frenchiga lagu yiraahdo, oo miisaankii iyo kobcii iyo kornimihii laga filanayay uu ilmahaasi gaari waayo. duruufta ay ubadka Soomaaliyeed, dhallaanka Soomaaliyeed ku sugan yihiin waa duruuf ka turjumaysa aayaha ummadda Soomaaliyeed iyo sida ay Soomaaliya u ekaan doonto. mar haddii jiilalkii dhaxli lahaa ee dadkan iyo dalkan sii wadi lahaa ay nafaqa darro halis u yihiin, oo maanka aanay ka korayn, oo aqoontii kororhsanayn, oo jidhkoodii uu daciifayo, lagama hadli karo Soomaaliyada berri
haddii timaantu ay saa tahay arrintaasi arrin markaa u baahan in la iska kaashado sidii xal loogu heli lahaa weeye mas-uuliyad weynna ay iska saaraan hay-adaha kala duwan ee Soomaaliya halbeegga lagu cabirayo in arrinta laga guuldhaliyay waa in qolyaha World Vision iyo ay ka mid yihiin World Food Program iyo hay-adahan intii aynu garaadsanayba dadka qaar waxay u haystaan in intii qaranku burburay un ay meelahan joogjoogeen oo ay caawinayeen ilaa 7 Soomaalida wala daabulay waxba loo qabanay maalinka aynu qolyaha ka maaranno ayaa la oran karaa xaaladdan way wacanta waxaan rabaa inaan qiro duruufta cunto yari ama saboolnimo ama nafaqa darro ee Soomaaliya ka jirta ma aha mid dalkeena u gaara laakiin waa mid 350 milyan oo qof ay ku gaajaysan yihiin adduunka dacladiisa kala duwan haba kala ayaan darnaada adduunku oo Afrikada madow iyo Eeshiyada iyo meelaha ha u badnaadaan 350 milyan oo qof baa cunto yari halis u ah dhamaadkii sanadkii hore waxaanu ka qayb galnay shir weyne lagu qabtay magaalada London oo World Hunger Summit la oranayay kulan weyne ay isugu imanayeen hay'adaha waaweyn ee ka hawlgala arrimaha cunto yarida dawladaha waaweyn ee maalgeliya iyo dawladaha Soomaaliya ay ka mid tahay oo kale oo la rabo inay doorkooda qaataan oo dadkooda daryeelaan adduunku maalinba maalinta ka dambaysa wuu sii xumaanaya Ukraine waxa ka taagan baarugtihiin Yurub baaba colaad kulaalaysa marka waqti badan baa laynooma hayo inaga duruufteen Soomaaliya waxa la rabaa inay iyadu dawladda oo halka hogaaminaysa iyo bulshada iskaashanayaan ay xuluul u keento xaaladahan ragaadiyay daayirtii Soomaaliya nambaradu marka waa kuwa very alarming waa nambaro in argagax gelinaya duruufta dhallaanka Soomaaliyeed ay ku sugan yihiin waad ka arkaysaa qolyaha bahada waxbarashada jooga way ka arkayaan markay ilmaha waxbarayaan nafaqa darradu saameynta ku yeelatay marka uu ciyaarayo waa laga garanayaa bari ka maalinna tartanka nolosha markuu la galo adduunweynaha way ka muuqanaysaa laakiin marka caruurta la daryeelo oo waqti la geliyo sida ay noqon karaan waxa misaal inoogu filan intii halkan timi hablihii dhalinyarada hadlayay iyo wiilashii heestayay intuba waxay heereen daryeel qoys iyo mid bulsho ay hormuud ka tahay sida maama ogaas oo kale dhowr kun oo maama ogaasa bay noorto u baahan waxyaabaha dadka Soomaaliyeed ka soo baaba'aya waxa ka mid ah waana inaynu xaqiiqo isu sheegno way yar tahay qof u banbaxaya danta guud way yar tahay qof arrimaha qabiilka iyo umba wax la isku taraay way yar tahay qof oranaya waxana hay samafale noloshiisa u horay inuu daryeelo dadka waa faraq ku tirsanteenu naqaan ilman iyo maama ogaaso iyo maama xaawo maxay abdi iyo way kooban yihiin hadda qolooyinka iyagu dawladda ka shaqeeya iyo kuwa hay'adaha la shaqeeya oo awshu kuma eka bulshada guud baa looga baahan yahay hoggaan tuulada lagu nool yahay baa la rabaa qofka ugu ladani inuu yiraahdo war waxaan ka warqabaya caruurta ma aha in kharash ka yimi Mareykan iyo Kuwait aynu ka warsugno in la isku filnaada la rabaa waynu aragnay xaaladdu waa xaalad adag waa xaalad soo noqnoqonaysa horta ugu horeyn waxaan maanta ku faraxsanahay dawladda Soomaaliyeed in ay ka bogatay mushkiladan iyo waxyaabaha keenaya shantii gu ee u dambeysay hal mar buu roob ku daay dadkii dhulkii wax soo saarka lahaa way ka barakaceen oo magaalooyinka ayay kulaalayaan colaadii waa joogto isbeddelka cimiladuna wuu si laba jibaaraya wax walba oo inaga sii kharibnaa duruuftaasi waa reality-ga iyo xaqiiqada aynu ku noolnahay laakiin sidee loola falgalaa sidee looga falceliyaa sidee looga gaashaantaa weeye su'aashu waxa aad halkan looga dhawaajiyay in wax laga qabto arrintan hal hay'ad oo World Vision la yiraahdana uma baahna hal wasaaradna uma baahna waa arrin u baahan in la isgarabsado oo gaashaan buurays u baahan wasaaradda beeraha iyo waraabka shaqo weyn baa u taalla wasaaradda xoolaha shaqo weyn baa u taalla wasaaradda caafimaadka shaqo weyn baa u taalla waxaan rabaa horta halkan inaan ka qirno run ahaantii dadaalka ay wadaan hay'adaha kala duwan ee dawladda ee sodma ay ka mid tahay wuxuu boqolkiiba boqol ka duwan yahay sidii aynu ahaan jirnay 10 sano ka hor 7 sano ka hor waayo hadda waxa jira barnaamijyo dawladdu ay hagto waaba laga yaabaa inay hay'ado kale implementation kale yihiin sida barnaamijka la yiraahdo baxnaano waa social safety net arrintu mar walba ma uuna dadkii ha loo gurmado oo ha laga jawaabo xaalad degdeg ah ee arrintu waxa weeye ha laga hortago oo inaanay imanba ha laga sii shaqeeyo ha laga sii gaashaanto way boqolaal kun oo dadka Soomaaliyeed ayaa hadda waxa la siiyaa xoogay kharash ah oo la rabo reerka in dabku ugu baxo oo sida ilmihii yaraa halkan la inoo soo bandhigayay aanu nafaqa darro daraadeed kubadba u aadi waayin deenu kubad soo ciyaari waay carruurta ciyaarta jeceshay Soomaa iskuul lama aadi karo wasaaradda shaqada iyo arrimaha bulshada waxa yaala barnaamij culus oo la yiraahdo baxnaano waxaan afka French-ga lagu yiraahdo social safety nets ama social protection oo ku aadan in ilmuhu marka uu yar yahay ilaa inta uu kobcayo korayo lagu daryeelo wasaaradda caafimaadka waxa yaala barnaamijyo waaweyn oo la xiriira nafaqayn iyo tallaal iyo daryeelba wasaaradda biyuhu waxay gacanta ku haysaa barnaamijyo waaweyn oo dadka la rabo in lagaga haqabtiro biyo yarida laakiin wasaaradaha kaliya kuma koobna si waxaas oo wax loo fuliyo horta waa in cashuur la helo hadda cashuur dad kale ayaynu cunaa oo dadka adduunka dawladaha u cashuura ba dadkan wax soo dhiibay lacagtu geed uga ma baxdo waa in wasaaradda maaliyadda iyo qorsheyntu iyo wasaaradda ganacsigu iyo kaabayaasha dhaqaaluhu ay la yimaadaan halbeegyo iyo barnaamijyo lagu kordhinayo dhaqaalaha dalka aan dhanka kale u dhiga marka anoo ku soo xidhi doona National Transformation Plan qorshaha isbeddelka lagu keenay qaranka oo qorshihii horumarinta qaranka oo magac kale loo bixiyay oo ma taqaanay la kordhiyay una wasaaradaha daryeelka ka shaqeeya baynu ka hadalnay wasaaradda caafimaadka wasaaradda waxbarashada wasaaradda biyaha waynu ka hadalnay wasaaradda arrimaha bulshada laakiin waxa jira horumarinta qorshaha qaranku at the heart of it waxa la yiraahdo poverty eradication agenda saboolnimada oo la yareeyo baa aasaas u ah saboolnimada si loo yareeyo hadda qoys ka soo qaad qoys 5 carruur iyo hooyadooda iyo aabahoodba aabuhu badi waxay dayacaan baryahan aabayaashu qoyskaasi laba wada u furan in aroor walba uu sugo daqiiq iyo saliid ay keentay hay'adda World Vision oo uu noloshiisa halka ku xiriiriyo iyo in qoyskaasi uu helo fursad shaqo labadaba cunta miiska saaran moogta marna intaad soo shaqaysatay oo si sharaf leh ku soo shaqaysatay baad qoyskaaga daryeeshay marna gacan baad horsanaysaa in gacan la horsado duruufta keenta laakiin inay a way of life noqoto lama rabo oo la yiraahdo waa la iska dhaxlayaaba reer buu ka dhaxlayaa lama rabo hadda carruurta derbi chiefka ahaan jiray maama ugaaso ay keentay quruxda ilaahay khayr ka siiyo reenraynta yiridiilada fariidnimada ka muuqata soo ma arkaysaan qof baa bedelay hal qof dhanka kale marka haddaan u dhigo isbeddelka ku imanaya baayac mushtariga Soomaaliyeed private sectorku wuxuu qayb lixaad la ka qaadanayaa dadku inay helaan quud ama cunto jaban dhanka kale u dhig say u dhici kartaa ilmaha jawhar jooga iyo beledweyn in la yiraahdo cunta dibad looga keenaya maxaa suurtageliyay taa maxaa suurtageliyay inay ka jabnaato cuntadii dibadda laga keenayay tii gudaha dabari waxa la oranayaa neefka arigaan aynu ka keenno Soomaaliya maxay ahayd Romania caano waa waxa ugu habboonee ilmaha nafaqo siin karta Soomaaliya maareyntii iyo maamulkii waxaan rabaa marka inaan ku soo durko dawladdu say arrinta u wajahaysa diin cafin waanu ka baxnay agaasime cabdixakiim baa sheegay dagaal waynu ka bixi doonaa insha Allah oo mintii u dambeysay baynu iska baraacinayna nimankii al-shabaab ahaa xaaladihii qabaliga la isu dili jiray waynu ka baxnay dawladda federaal baynu samaysanay hadda waxa la rabaa in kobac dhaqaale u yimaado oo aasaasku uu yahay inta aynan duulin bal horta inaynu dadkeena daryeelno inta nugul oo shaqada hay'adda sodma ay hayso ee ah ka jawaabidda aynu ka hortag u bedelno wasaaradda beeraha biyaha dhismayaasha iyo kaabayaasha dhaqaalaha dadaalada kala duwan ee aan dadka caadiga mala u muuqanin inay isku xidhan yihiin dadaaladaasoo kala duwan baa qofka Soomaaliga aayihiisa bari bedelaya oo si weyn u bedelaya waxaan rabaa marka inaan ku soo gunaanado una mahad celiyo hay'adda World Vision oo globally ka ah champion ka ah arrimaha ubadka dhallaanka iyo nafaqa darrada haysata it is a global agenda waa global agenda waa an African agenda waa Somali agenda waa wax isku xiriirsan aan ku soo gunaanado ilmaha yare inuu nafaqa helo waa arrin cadaalad la xiriirda it's a human rights issue waa arrin bini'aadnimo la xiriirda waa arrin qarankeena iyo horumarkeena la xiriirda finally I decided to speak in English much of the audience is Somalis I think you will be getting a translation from your colleagues but we would like to acknowledge that the eradication of hunger elimination of hunger particularly malnutrition affecting children, the future of our societies, is not a singular agenda that can be addressed by either one agency, an NGO, a government, an organization of any sort. It is indeed a collective effort that needs a very well orchestrated, multidimensional approach. A series of, protection, social safety nets, interventions from a welfare perspective to an economic growth policies. So we have to address both the demand and supply side of bringing about change. You could, on one hand, bring food stuff to families on a regular basis that are vulnerable, or you could create an opportunity for them to be productive members of society and help them to utilize their own agency. It's a mix of both. It is not one over the other. There are some people who criticize non-governmental organizations saying that they're creating dependency and a perpetual. But you cannot just sit around and allow people to die and perish. On the other hand, you cannot continuously rely on a response mechanism. There has to be more preventive measures, durable solutions. And as the government, we're going to use the National Transformation Plan as the vehicle for bringing about poverty, increasing levels of poverty, and creating productive opportunities for members of our society. While a child that is 3, 2, 5, 6 years old might not be productive at that particular time, and it's even against international law to employ children, even if they are 14 or 13 or at whatever age, but they can be empowered to be employable in the near future when they become adults. So investing in them today is about the future of Somalia's tomorrow. It's about the development of human capital capabilities of Somalia. And I think we are going to have a joint effort, and one of the labs in terms of the National Transformation Plan should address the nexus of the humanitarian crisis, the development aspirations, climate change, and social policy, and see how all these different actions are collectively improving the lives of the Somali people, transforming their lives. It's not our business to keep people just alive. We want to make people become independent, dignified, productive, and not be a burden on the global community. And we must acknowledge that the Somalia of today, the government, institutions, and the civil society are better positioned to contribute to the well-being of their people. And we will be relying on help from the outside world for some time. But the litmus test is when we retire you all, so that you work in some different place that are less as less fortunate maybe as we used to be in the past. I would like to conclude my remarks at that and thank you, the World Vision, for championing this global agenda and the Somali government institutions that work with you on this issue. Thank you very much.
Excellencies, I would like to call the director, the regional director and the country director to join the Deputy Prime Minister for the campaign signature. And we'll also like to invite 3 children from Mama Ugaso to join us here because it's a great day for the Somali children. Mr. Teacher, please provide us with 3 students to join us here during the signing in. It's a global event for children, and there'll be no greater honor than having kids in the presence at the signing. We can give a signature. Yes. Okay. We can give the camera crew enough space so that they can capture this moment. Everybody's not like it. هالمربس I would like also to announce that there'll be a photo shoot with the Deputy Prime Minister, and I'd like to call her to the stage for the photo group. There will be a photo group, one photo group only, with the director. Yes. Have a photo group with this. Yes. Yes. We'd like to invite for the photo group, as our chief of guest is a bit short on time. He has got other engagements. I would like to call Ahmed and Sumaya also to come to and to join the photo, and Hawa, please. Yeah. just a minute for them to join the photo group. And also the head of agencies, please join us. We are all champions of the children. I think we should be visible in the photo.
We shall do it.
I would like to make one announcement. The event is not over. We will continue with our program after the chief of guest exits us. Shirka nooma dhamaanin ra-iisul wasaaraha markuu baxo markaas baan wadaynaa qeybihii dambe insha Allah. Excellencies, mudane almarweyn barnaamijku nooma dhamaanin marti sharafta bes baan u ogolaanay inay naga baxaan barnaamijku noo sii socon doono. The program is not yet over. We will continue with the session. We have got a lineup of humanitarian workers who will give out their remarks. Yes, the event is still ongoing. There's more to come. Yes, we're continuing, yes. I'd like to invite all of us to have a seat so that we can continue the program. mudanayaal marweyn barnaamijkii weli uu noo socon doonaa waxaan idinka codsanayaa in la wada fadhiisto si barnaamijku sii socdo. Teamka waxaan ka codsanayaa inay dadka fadhiisiyaan dadka taagan iyo dadka banaanka aaday oo barnaamijkan nala qayb galayaan. Kuraasta horeen waa imaan kartiin waa buux dhaafin kartiin. For the people in the back, there's some space in front. You guys feel free to come forward. We have a lineup of speakers, of humanitarian champions. They're going to continue their presentations. We also have the children from Mama Ugasa Foundation who will provide us with more entertainment. We also have, I'd also like to acknowledge their teacher who is here and for the commendable job that he's done. His name is Mr. Hassan Farah from Hilal Academy. He's doing a commendable job and we love the presentation of the children. Thank you very much. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for your attention. I think we thank the Deputy Prime Minister and the members of the Somali Federal Government for their presence and for their commitments that they've shown us. I was happy that the Deputy Prime Minister did give an English version of his speech. I think that was commendable. But a few summary from what I could take from the Deputy Prime Minister's speech was his government's commitment to fighting climate-related disasters. That is the root cause of the challenges facing Somalia. And one of the things that he mentioned is the creation of agencies and key departments within the government, like the Somali Disaster Management, to oversee the disaster or the crisis that's happening in Somalia and to avert them. And he also mentioned some of the key programs under the line government ministries, including Bahnano, the social protection for kids. And he also said that various ministries, including the health, water, ministry, the education and the social affairs department, they're doing different programs to ensure that child hunger and malnutrition is eradicated completely here in Somalia. And he mentioned that the key driver will be poverty eradication at the end of that. And he also did give a shout out to Somali-owned organizations that are on the forefront of fighting child malnutrition and hunger. And two of them is Elman Foundation and Mama Ugaso Foundation. And he also did a special acknowledgement to World Vision for being a key champion in protecting children, and also to all other UN organizations and Somali organizations fighting against hunger and malnutrition. So, Excellencies, allow me to now introduce the Deputy Country Director for the World Food Programme, Somalia, Alison Oman, to give her remarks.
I need my glasses. I'm of that age. His Excellency, really pleased he was with us, honorable ministers, Kevin and the World Vision team, distinguished guests, all protocols observed. It's with great honor that I stand before you today representing the United Nations World Food Programme in Somalia, alongside our esteemed partner from World Vision International, to launch the Enough campaign, a united call to action to end the devastating crisis of child hunger and malnutrition in our country. We have witnessed the immense challenges Somalis have endured firsthand, grappling with devastating impact of climate change, conflict, and economic instability, with children being disproportionately affected. The numbers are staggering. 1.7 million Somali children under the age of 5 are suffering from acute malnutrition, with 430,000 at risk of severe malnutrition. Sadly, approximately 3 million school-aged children in Somalia are out of school. This is a crisis that demands our immediate and unwavering attention. While Somalia continues to bear the brunt of climate change, devastating cycles of droughts and floods, there is hope. With nearly 1/2 of the Somali population under the age of 14, we have great opportunity to make a difference in the future of Somalia. Together, we can create a Somalia where every child, no matter where they live, who they are, can access the nutritious food they need to both survive and thrive. In 2022, through our collaboration with partners like the World Vision International, with the government, we reached 2.3 million individuals with life-saving malnutrition treatment and prevention services, helping to avert what could have been a devastating famine. And in 2023, during the post-drought recovery, we continued our work reaching 2.9 million people with these critical interventions. This remarkable achievement was made possible through our firm commitment to work hand in hand with the government at both the federal and the state level. Together, we've established an enabling environment that has allowed us to provide vulnerable communities with the humanitarian assistance they need. We are also collaborating with the government and with UNICEF, a close partner, to improve nutrition outcomes in Somalia through the development of the Ministry of Health's nutrition strategy, delving into food fortification with the Office of the Prime Minister, and exploring the transition of nutrition programs to state-level ministries of health in Puntland and Southwest State. WFP's work across the humanitarian development spectrum to ensure that children are food secure and provided with the necessary safety nets to prevent malnutrition and hunger. In partnership with the Ministry of Education, Culture, and Higher Education, we're supporting 183,000 students with school meals, providing them with fresh, nutritious meals, educating them on the importance of a balanced diet. In my previous role as the Global Deputy Director of Nutrition for WFP, I had the opportunity to witness firsthand the importance of prevention and to visit a nutrition program using cash to support access to more diverse and locally grown foods. This enables parents to improve the meals they feed their children. In addition to our direct interventions, WFP, alongside FAO, is deeply engaged in transforming food systems to address the root causes of child malnutrition and hunger, working on multiple fronts to ensure that children have access to healthy diets. This includes supporting smallholder farmers with training and resources to enhance agricultural productivity and sustainability, building and rehabilitating infrastructure to connect farmers to markets more efficiently. These investments increase food availability and affordability, making it easier for families to access food. Working to create resilient food supply systems that can withstand shock and disruption, ensuring a reliable flow of food from farm to table, key value chains, including during times of crisis. And engaging government entities to advocate for policies that support sustainable agricultural, food security, and nutrition, as we heard today already. And of course, through our longstanding partnership with World Vision International, we're not only providing relief assistance and nutrition treatment and prevention to children and families, but we've also launched a national nutrition coverage survey to inform how to better serve children and mothers. But our work today is far from over. Today we stand united, declaring enough to child hunger and malnutrition. Through the Enough campaign, we'll act on the joint commitments outlined today. We've heard that very strongly from Hawa, from Sumaya, from Ahmed, better than I can ever say, that children have rights and that they know those rights. To improve understanding on the toll that hunger and malnutrition is taking, securing increased commitment of funding for critical hunger and nutrition actions, ensuring that children have age-appropriate nourishing food provided ethically, sustainably, and as locally as possible by expanding the coverage of school meals, expanding children and families' access to comprehensive preventive and curative nutrition services, amplifying the voices of children and young people, ensuring that they are heard and prioritized. So let us embrace this challenge with determination and a steadfast commitment to our shared vision of a hunger-free Somalia. Let us say enough and take action to end child hunger and malnutrition now and forever. Today's children are tomorrow's leaders. Let's invest in Somali children and afford them every opportunity we can to enable them to unleash their potential and flourish. So enough to children suffering the long-term impacts of malnutrition. Enough families, communities, and nations unable to achieve prosperity and advancement because of malnutrition. WFP is pleased to stand with World Vision International and partners for this campaign. We say enough, enough, enough. Thank you, and may peace be upon you all.
Thank you very much, Alison Oman, the Deputy Country Director for the World Food Programme. Let's all invest in the children. They are the future of Somalia. I think that's a very nice statement. I would like to give her remarks now to Veronica Mutiro, the Deputy Head of Programs for the FAO Somalia. Welcome.
Thank you very much, MC, and good afternoon to you all. Assalamu alaikum. Allow me to say all protocols observed for all the partners, World Vision team, government officials, and my fellow UN agency representatives. So it's a pleasure for me to be here today to be witnessing this event. As we gather today with a shared purpose and an unwavering commitment to a cause that cut across borders and touches the hearts of millions, that is ending child hunger and malnutrition. I was really pleased to see the performance by those children. You know, when you are staying within the airport, it's very rare to interact with children unless you go outside. So this has been a very spectacular. This initiative by World Vision on Enough is a vital initiative aimed at eradicating child hunger and malnutrition, and it is essential to reflect on the strength and the strength of our partnerships and the incredible strides that we have made together in Somalia. FAO and World Vision globally have forged a powerful alliance since 2011, dedicated to advancing global food security and building a resilient livelihood. Our collaboration, renewed in 2020, has become even more critical as we face the global food systems challenges, which includes the impacts of climate change, conflict, displacement, and inequalities. By investing in resilient agri-food systems and capable communities, we can create opportunities for economic growth and improved livelihoods, reducing humanitarian needs in the long run. Our agri-food systems need to be able to meet our current and future food needs. Hence, we need to be transforming and working towards changing how we produce food, how we harvest, we store, we process, and consume the food. So touching in a holistic manner the whole food system aspects. FAO Global is a strategy that articulates the vision of a sustainable food and secure world for all in the context of the Agenda 2020 for Sustainable Development through the transformation to a more efficient, inclusive, resilient, and sustainable agri-food system through 4 betas, what we call our signature 4 betas for this period. So we have a better production, aspiration for better production, where we aspire for sustainable agriculture, livestock fisheries, production, increasing availability of more nutritious food for households, and high quality surplus for sale and income. A better nutrition, where we focus on increasing access to health diets through growing more nutritious food for consumption at household level, especially for children and their caregivers. A better environment, where we reduce the hazards and increasing availability of water, pasture, soil for production through protecting, restoring, and promoting sustainable use of terrestrial and marine ecosystems to combat climate change. And lastly, a better life that promotes inclusive economic growth by reducing inequalities and especially taking cognizance of the needs of the children and women and other vulnerable groups in the communities. FAO is happy to be working with World Vision in partnership on existing efforts to achieve these 4 betas. And we look forward to deepening this collaboration with the Enough initiative, and particularly the children and women of Somalia. We have further defined these priorities for Somalia, aligned with the national development plans through our country program framework, which specifically tackles many of the preventable causes of hunger with the development of resilient food systems and livelihoods, supported by early warning systems and anticipatory action to reduce the impact of climate change. In Somalia, FAO works across the humanitarian development and peace nexus, empowering an area-based approach to enhance evidence generation, early warning, emergency response, and transformative solutions supported by evidence in the analysis which are generated specifically by our two flagship programs, the FSNU and Swallowing. FAO with partners supported the government to define and operationalize the food systems pathways, setting an agenda for a transformative food system. And we have been working hand in hand with the Sun Movement, the Office of the Deputy Prime Minister, and WFP and other partners to define these transformative food systems pathways and how they can be operationalized in the country. These efforts have not only improved food security, but they've also empowered communities to build a brighter, more sustainable future. FAO remains a cornerstone in addressing hunger and malnutrition, especially in vulnerable rural populations in remote areas. It is essential to support rural communities, enabling them to stay resilient and recover from the recurrent shocks, to reduce also the humanitarian burden. We know with our approaches that when you invest in rural communities, $1 you spend on resilient building can save $10 in humanitarian assistance. FAO is also focused on supporting these vulnerable households to grow and consume more nutritious food and to sell high quality food safety surplus for income. This happens even when there's drought or floods, with innovative approaches to resilience and disaster risk reduction. These areas complement well with the World Vision, the objective of the enough, and we think we have great opportunities to be collaborating and deepening this collaboration as we move forward. We are already working with World Vision as a partner in Somalia, and particularly happy that they are now part of the JOA Offstream Storage Program, which is popularly known as the JOS, funded by FCDO and USAID. The JOS program is a first attempt at pooling expertise and resources from donors, UN, NGOs, with government partners to achieve a transformative and lasting impact at scale for the people of Somalia. The program takes a comprehensive integrated approach to resilience building and goes beyond climate adaptation and looks at enabling communities to not just withstand climate shocks, but to thrive in the face of them. Fundamentally reducing the risk of both drought and flood in the long term and boosting national production at scale along the Sabere River bread basket. The project is expected to enhance access to water for irrigation across 5 districts and reduce flood risk and drought impact for more than 1.6 million people, majority of which will be women and children. Increased local food production is also expected to generate in excess of 50 million per season in additional production, value and income, and lead to savings of about 36 million per year in humanitarian assistance as food security situation improves. Our partnership with World Vision is not just about working together. It is about creating lasting impact. We have harnessed the power of our collective expertise and resources to drive initiatives such as their also participation in the Joint Resilience Program in the Gedo region, where we have been implementing with UNICEF and WFP. These initiatives have allowed us to address both immediate needs and long-term goals with a balanced approach that combines quick wins with systematic changes, especially for IDP populations. Our joint achievements underscore the value of our partnership, demonstrating that when we work together, we can create real change. As we advance towards the Sustainable Development Goals, this partnership stands as a statement to the power of unity and national vision. Today, we face both an opportunity and a pressing need for transformative action. Somalia's progress now, compared to 20 years ago, provides a unique chance for us to leverage on the benefits of peace and stability. However, the frequency and severity of climate shocks will continue to challenge vulnerable communities, and especially women and children. Our approach must therefore evolve from mere survival and response actions to fostering thriving, resilient communities through addressing the underlying causes. As we move forward with the Enough campaign, let us remember that our combined efforts are more than just a response to a crisis. They are a beacon of hope for a better tomorrow, especially for Somali children. By standing together, we are not only addressing the urgent needs of today, but we are also laying the ground for a future where every child can thrive without the threat of hunger and malnutrition. Let us continue to build our strong foundation, deepen our collaboration, and drive a meaningful change. Together we can turn this tide on child hunger and malnutrition in Somalia. So we join the voice of enough is enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Veronica Matiro, the head of programs for the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO Somalia. I'd like now to call to the stage another great champion of children, one UN organization that cannot be forgotten when you talk about children, Madam Wafa Saeed Abdel Latif. The stage is yours.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum, everybody. I think respected colleagues here in the room who are representing the federal government of Somalia, whether from federal level or member states, and also if there are also colleagues from the parliamentarians or Somali civil society, everybody. And you know, I'm so excited today because, and I want to acknowledge and to congratulate World Vision for bringing children to the event. We don't always have that. And for us, for us as UNICEF, as you said, we are the child-based, not only us, but we are basically a child-based organization. That's our mandate. We work for children. And we actually say we are hired and we are paid ourselves at the end of the job to be in service for children through working with government. So for me today, to see some of my bosses in the room, my real bosses that I'm hired to serve, was amazing. And when I got into the lobby, I could immediately see the energy, just like, something is different here. And then you see the kids and Abdul Qadir and the others. So it was, I really feel energized. That was really wonderful. So congratulations for really bringing the children and letting us listen to voice. Sumaya, Ahmad, Hawa, very articulate, very clear. So thank you so much. Yeah, that was great. So I just want to say a few things, and I think this campaign, when it's launched, it's really timely and it's really critical. And I think the colleagues raised that this is just a global campaign. It's very particular for Africa. It's very particular for our region. And we are really struggling globally, you know, to address the response. Even the global humanitarian response plan is not funded that much. So the reminder that it's possible and that we are in a world of plenty and that we have responsibility of solidarity and as human being of humanity, you know, a moral obligation. And at the end of the day, the world is so much connected. So we cannot say we don't care. We all have to be together. So I think the timing and this, the way that it was, you have designed it very thoughtfully. I really want to congratulate, and it is needed because our effort business as usual will not do. So that kind of campaign, I think, is really very welcomed. I think also you spoke about how in the places like Somalia, and His Excellency Deputy Prime Minister mentioned that this nexus between social protection, climate crisis, and we know that we're going to see more of this crisis. We know that conflict, I come from Sudan, so I know I am out of my country, but I get the news every day. I know how is conflict also creating hunger and creating displacement and creating suffering. So we see this, and this is coupled with the impact of climate, and we know because of the climate change that it's just we have maybe a couple of years or so until we get the next crisis. So what do we do to prepare for that? And how do we work differently? And how we have to have sort of like a multi-sectoral response. I just want to reflect, in 2023, actually, collectively, you know, with the government, both at federal level, member state, I think SODMA, The Mahatma ministries have taken really a frontline response in coordinating, facilitating, in making a difference. Civil society organizations, including large organizations like World Vision and different partners, we have actually treated almost 600,000 severely acute malnourished. That's a big number. This has so many lives are actually saved, you know. And I want to say two things. I think one of them is that we have learned from that response. So we have learned that the response itself has to do better. And I just want to reflect on some of the things that we have learned to improve the response. This has come in your speech, my respected sister, and also the Deputy Prime Minister, that this is an issue that is integrated. Nutrition is not just the business of Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Health and even SODMA. It's everybody's business. So I think that is something that has come very clear. And we realize that we have to ensure that when we go out and we give the response, it has to be integrated, because it doesn't work. You know, if a child is severely malnourished, if they don't have clean water, if they don't have access to latrines, if they are not immunized, it's also a huge problem. And so I think that is something very important. We also learned that we have to improve how we work. You know, now there is technology. So now, as you would know, many partners, and UNICEF is working also on this, is that we have to use digitalization. We need to improve how, if you go to many of these facilities, you'll find people are still, with my terrible handwriting, writing down, you know, the child, the mother, the number, and we are facing challenges in referral. This can all be digital, and the Ministry of Health already have a health information system that we can link to. So that will improve the quality, will improve the transparency. We also learned that we have to address also aid diversion. This is not limited only to Somalia. In many of the countries that we are working on, I think this is part of the business model. We really need to do better. And I really want to commend SODMA, the member states, the Mahatma. They were really making concrete progress in raising awareness, in sending a message that aid diversion is not acceptable, and also already start to work on legislation. That also in terms of the response. So in the response, the integration, the legislation of aid diversion, addressing aid diversion, and digitalization to improve, I think has been something very good. And I think I think all these points were said, but just to stress on them, but we really need to move towards prevention. I'm really very much encouraged by the vision of the government. The language matters, you know, saying national development plan or national transformation plan, it makes a difference. And I've seen from the discussions that I have had with colleagues from the government that this is taking very, it's not business as usual, it's very serious and it's very encouraging. And also the fact that there is this human capital pillar, that's an important. And Eric, not because you're from UNICEF, but I like how you linked the World Bank statistics that nutrition to well-being, to a nation to be successful and sustainable and to have success. Even address security, you know, they have to go hand in hand. The way we invest in security, we need to invest in ensuring that children are nourished. So I think that's something very, very important. We have the vision, we have the opportunity, we have the leadership of the government, we have initiatives like, you know, done by World Vision, very encouraging. So the stars are aligning for us to shift to that movement. The second thing is becoming unsustainable. It's not possible. We cannot be in a situation where the number are increasing, we're increasing the plan, we are increasing. It's not sustainable. We already know, and many of the colleagues here in the room from the humanitarian agencies, I see Abdul Qadir also representing the NGO Consortium, that the plan is 30% funded. We are 2 days into August. Tomorrow is August. We should be at least 60-something. We are really very far. And so, as also mentioned, I recall, I could understand from many of the speakers, including the Deputy Prime Minister, response is important. It saves lives. We need it now, but it's not sustainable. So we really don't have even time. We really have to work together to shift towards this approach. And as I said, it should be everybody's business. I just say on behalf of UNICEF, the child right-based organization, we see our role really to support first and foremost the government, to strengthen national systems. That's how things should be. And this is how me and my team, our first and most important thing is to strengthen national systems, including the national civil society organ. That's part of the national system. But that's our first mandate, first effort, and we are really shifting. We don't have to only work harder. We have to think harder. We have to think harder because, there are so many challenges, but I think we are really in a good time and good environment that we are also committed to collaborate because, as we say in Africa, it takes a village. And I want to commend you, World Vision, how you also brought the partnership as a core theme, that you want to mobilize everybody, including the participants that you have had in the room. We also commit to collaborate with partners to really make a good job. And please, I think this is a commitment. And also on behalf of UNICEF and on behalf of also myself, I also add our voice to say, enough is enough, enough is enough, enough to hunger, malnutrition of children globally, but also in a continent that's the future of this world. If you look at the statistics, I just forgot the percentage, but by 2050, I think that was going to be the place where you have the population, and not only the population, the middle income class globally will be in Africa. So it's a continent that is really matters for the, of course you can see I'm very biased and Pan-African, but I have to say, no, from facts, I think this is also a place. I recall the Secretary General one time said that if we don't succeed in addressing the Sustainable Development Goal in Africa, it will be very difficult to do it elsewhere. So I think that is something very important. Really congratulations to our World Vision colleague for this. You can even feel the energy. We're all energized by the thinking, the energy that you have put, by bringing the children in the room, and enough is enough, and thank you so much. Shukran. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much, Wafaa Saeed Abdul Latif, the country representative for UNICEF in Somalia. And it takes a village to raise a child, you're right. So I think that ball is now in our court, and we should all play a part and join and say enough is enough. Enough? 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 No child should go hungry. So let me now welcome to the stage, and I'm also reminded that we should and I should announce that all speakers are allocated 5 minutes each. I'd like to give the stage now to the Deputy Director of the Somali NGO Consortium, Mr. Abdul Qadir Mohammed Ahmed, to give his remarks. Welcome, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, colleagues, distinguished colleagues, government representatives, NGOs, UN head agencies, children is in the room, all protocols observed. Let me pass my greetings to you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. After that, I want to thank World Vision for giving us this opportunity and organizing this colorful ceremony where we are discussing to end child hunger and malnutrition. And also, thank you for bringing the children and giving us the chance that we listen the concerns of our children in the room. Actually, as a humanitarian, we work in cluster approach, and the concerns of the children, all of them, they touch the clusters, the health, the wash, the education, the food, the nutrition, all the clusters. And I think to end hunger and malnutrition, as you all are aware, malnutrition comes late after food insecure. It's a late outcome. So we need to address also the factors surrounding that causes malnutrition, because malnutrition is caused by diseases, sometimes it's caused by lack of food, sometimes it's caused by poor dietary intake. So we also need to address the food security pillars, which is food availability, food accessibility, utilization, and again, stability of those 4 things. So I hope that we will all address those pillars to end malnutrition. After that, please allow me to deliver the message from the NGOs. So it's my great honor to stand in front of you today in support of World Vision's Somalia launch of the Enough campaign. As the Deputy Director of Somalia NGO Consortium, I'm proud to lend our collective voices to this vital initiative to end child hunger and malnutrition in our country. The statistics we have heard are stark and sobering. Over 4.3 million Somalis are suffering from acute hunger and malnutrition, with an estimated 1.7 children under the age of 5 are expected to face malnutrition this year. And this is simply unacceptable to all of us. The high rates of stunting and child mortality in Somalia are a moral failing, and that we can no longer ignore. Every child deserves the opportunity to grow up healthy and strong and to develop both mentally and physically, and yet far too many of our children are deprived of the most basic nourishment they need to thrive. This is why enough campaign vision of Somalia, where every child enjoys enough nourishing food, is so profoundly important, and it aligns seamlessly with the Sustainable Development Goals of ending hunger and achieving food security and improved nutrition. The campaign comprehensive approach, from increasing public awareness to influencing high-level policy, is exactly the kind of multi-pronged strategy that is needed to tackle this crisis. The Somali NGO Consortium wholeheartedly supports that focus as that's laid down by the Enough campaign. Number one, amplifying children's voices in decisions around hunger, nutrition, and food security. Number two, ensuring adequate funding and assistance for hunger crisis in Somalia. Number three, advocating for universal school meals program. Number four, improving data and visibility on child hunger and malnutrition. 5, strengthening nutrition policies and services with a focus on girls. And 6, increasing funding to tackle child malnutrition. As a consortium, we pledge to work hand in hand with the World Vision, which is our member. The Somali NGO Consortium is an umbrella that's composed of over 130 national and international NGOs in the country. So as an NGO Consortium, we pledge that we will work hand in hand with World Vision and other partners to amplify these critical asks. We will leverage our collective voice to ensure that no child in Somalia is left behind. The Enough campaign is a clear call that we cannot ignore, and it is rallying all of us to come together and say enough is enough. No more children will go hungry on our watch. Let us heed the voices of the children we have heard today. Let us stand in solidarity and answer their call. Together we can build Somalia where every child thrives, free from scourge of hunger and malnutrition. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abdul Qadir Mohammed Ahmed, the Deputy Director of the Somali NGO Consortium. I would like to now call to the stage Mr. Blaise Mujika from the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. Back in the days during my journalism work in Mogadishu, if there's one organization I heavily relied on data from, was UN OCHA. And every time, they always came through. Thank you, sir. Welcome.
Thank you. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed, and colleagues from World Vision, Soba Walaksan, and Salam Alaikum. Now, just to thank, first of all, World Vision for inviting us to this launch of the Enough campaign, and to remind that if we are all here, we can stand here, it's because our childhood growth was normal, and we were able to develop into capable people with all our mental faculties. And this is a chance that is not afforded to some of the children that either experience malnutrition or that are stunted because of malnutrition. So we may count ourselves lucky, but we should also be able to ensure that we give the chance to the children that are faced with the risk of malnutrition. So this is to thank World Vision for taking this bold step to address sustainably the issue of child hunger and malnutrition, including working on preventing to ensure that children in Somalia are spared from falling into this scourge. Somalia remains one of the countries that is heavily or severely affected by humanitarian crisis, that is on the global scale. While according to the humanitarian need and response plan for Somalia for 2024, the number of people affected or people in need decreased from 8.3 million in 2023 to 6.9 million in 2024. But recurrent shocks, including climatic events such as drought, floods, conflicts, insecurity, and disease outbreaks, have continued to exacerbate humanitarian needs. As a result, the need for life-saving assistance and resilience continue to remain high on the agenda across the country. So this is of particular concern for specific vulnerable groups like children in a context where age, gender, minority, and vulnerability status and the intersection between all these and other dimensions strongly affects how people are impacted by the humanitarian crisis in Somalia. Across the country, millions of children and women are at heightened risk of death or other long-term consequences due to high rate of malnutrition. Acute food insecurity, conflicts, and high prevalence of infectious diseases are contributing to high rate of malnutrition, aggravated by the impact of the El Nino induced flooding in 2023 and the lingering effects of drought. This is in addition to poor feeding practices, limited access to health and nutrition services, and poor water, hygiene, and sanitation practices. Following the good rains that we just experienced from April to June, acute watery disease and cholera cases spiked, with half of the cases being children. The outbreak is fueled by the consequences I've just mentioned of the historic drought that this country experienced and the floods that came after the dead rain late last year, leading to limited access to clean water and sanitation, especially in displacement sites, and affecting mostly children. To provide assistance to people in need, including children already experiencing malnutrition or those faced with heat risk, access is key. However, this remains a key challenge as well, as we know in Somalia. The operating environment is constrained by issues to do with physical access or with issues challenged to do with security. OCHA will continue working with partners, including World Vision, in this specific area to ensure that all the people targeted by this campaign can be reached and supported. Out of the 5 outcomes expected from this campaign, outcome number 2, relating to funding that is required to help materialize critical hunger and nutrition action speaks particularly to us as OCHA. As you may, or some of you know, the difficult international financial environment has really significantly constrained funding. The Humanitarian Response Plan in Somalia 2024, we are in July, end of July, and it's only 31.1% funded, which is a very bad prospect for the future, because even the planning to ensure that we support the children that are targeted in some of these programs may be compromised by this extremely low level of funding that we have. So collective efforts are therefore necessary to help mobilize the funds from and commitments by the donors to materialize this more than timely campaign, enough campaign, I mean, aimed at ending child hunger and malnutrition. To conclude, I wish to congratulate World Vision on this important vision to ensure children's health and well-being prioritized. The launch of this campaign is a very welcome strategy to mitigate the impact of Somalia humanitarian crisis on children, and OCHA fully supports and will accompany World Vision in whatever way and by whatever means to ensure that this campaign is successful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Blaise Mujika, the Deputy UN OCHA Somalia. And I echo his statements, and I also add my voice, and I call for the mobilization and the commitment for funds rather to be channeled to the champions of children like World Vision, UNICEF, UN OCHA, and all other organizations that work to protect and better the lives of Somali children. Now I would like to call to the stage Mr. Mahmoud Maalim Abdullah, I would like to call to the stage the Deputy Commissioner of the Somali Disaster Management Agency, Dr. Ahmed Abdi Aden, to give his remarks. It is important to note that this is one of the new government agencies created to tackle climate-related shocks. So, thank you, Excellency. Welcome.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Government officials, representatives of the NGOs, UN families, NGO Consortium, civil societies, World Vision staff and directors, regional and country team, all international staff, our beloved children in the room, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's a great honor for me today to stand in front of you in order to address this very important issue, this campaign to end child hunger, championed by the World Vision. I am actually delighted to appreciate the effort that has been done by the World Vision by launching this Enough campaign in Somalia that aims to end child hunger and malnutrition. As we well aware, the Somali has suffered a protracted conflict that resulted in a humanitarian crisis, intersected with extreme weather events driven by climate change, resulting in unprecedented droughts and floods in the recent years. These extreme weather conditions, compounded by ongoing conflict and limited access to essential services, have intensified food insecurity and malnutrition among vulnerable children that resulted in enduring famine-like conditions or severe hunger. As we speak today, the figures and the numbers are actually very shocking. As we know, the projections indicated that almost 1.8 million of Somali children are in a dire condition of malnutrition. Almost half of a million are severely malnourished. So today we come to here to pledge our commitment to end child hunger and malnutrition. Let us renew our determination to ensure that no child is left behind without food and feed. With partners like World Vision and others, we can create a future where every child in Somalia not only survives but thrives. By investing in long-lasting solutions, empowering communities, building the resilience, and advocating for policies that put children first, we can build a better tomorrow for everyone. So to conclude, I urge each of all the relevant government bodies, partners, donors, private sectors, NGOs, and community at large to join this important mission. Let us turn our shared vision into action, make sure every child has a chance to live a healthy and dignified life. Together, we can make a difference that changes the lives of our children and make them for better future and brilliant coming days. I thank you.
Thank you very much. We are almost coming to the end of the program. We just have one more vote of thanks from the director of World Vision Somalia. But before that, I would like to call one last time the children from Mama Ugaso to come and entertain us briefly. And then we do the confetti. And then we say enough is enough. And then we start following up the commitments and not just leave the conversation here. hadda waxaan u wacay caruurta Mama Ugaso inay bandhig noo sameeyaan kadib barnaamijka gunaanadka baan hadda joognaa. I think we should welcome them with a round of applause. I think yes, since it's their day. maanta maalintooda waay.
haddii diiftiina daysay diheelkii aan ka baxnay ficina dardareysan waa inaan u doodnaa saan dareysannahay agoonta u liidatee aan u doodno
warheer mid kale aloodeen da'yarta baayaa gaarka qabo sida kuwa aragga la kuwa lugaha la iyo kuwa dhagaa la aan u doodno
waa sax
arheer mid kale aloodeen ilmaha caruurta darbajiifta aad daranne aan u doodno
waa sax
warheer
mid kale aloodeen kuwa ubadkooda danyarta oo aan u doodno kuwaasaa daranne
dood waa isku raacnay baaqiyaa u dirnaa waxaan baaqu diraynaa dowladdeena lambarkow aan baaqu dirno docda beesha adduunkane aan baaqu dirno
hay-adaha wax daryeelana baaqa aan u dirno teeda kale dadkeena kii wax qur leh baaqa aan u dirno
dood waa isku raacnay baaqa aan u dirno ka dhawaaji dirbank
وراضن وافرين وعباقل جدوين إلى كسكو برشدا انتيدا وحقورتا إيو دولة أعلن إيو الدنيا دا آنو ديري وراضن وافرين وعباقل جدوين إلى كسكو برشدا انتيدا وحقورتا إيو دولة أعلن إيو الدنيا دا آنو ديري بحاجر وبعد يرى عفعاني سبدا يتالكو دنا دلاي إلى عاوي ربنا بحاجر وبعد يرى عفعاني سبدا يتالكو دنا دلاي إلى عاوي ربنا الماشة تسألو كير نفقة دري قوات كخا إن بدن هيسا جردو معلوش أبدا إيو كاجد ووخلي سدون إلا قعاوي يا ربنا الماشة تسألو كير نفقة دري قوات كخا إن بدن هيسا جردو معلوش أبدا إيو كاجد ووخلي سدون إلا قعاوي يا ربنا بريد ووخلي سمها وبدك تعدي بيبدا ضياع أذك بيبدا عرورتون أبور لهين إن لكو أذك بيبدا إن أنا خانقاري ولي إلا عروس عيبدا بريد ووخلي سمها وبدك تعدي بيبدا ضياع أذك بيبدا عرورتون أبور لهين إن لكو أذك بيبدا إن أنا خانقاري ولي إلا عروس عيبدا joogaoon adig waxba haysaniyo danyarta iltaraysaniyo agoon quud waysaniyo ilmaha qaba baahi gaar laylayaan anfaca ku filan ilaa caawiya rabnaa intaa waxaan u dari diiga ubadka joogaoon adig waxba haysaniyo danyarta iltaraysaniyo agoon quud waysaniyo ilmaha qaba baahi gaar laylayaan anfaca ku filan ilaa caawiya rabnaa orahdeen iyo murtida adduunka qofkii maqliyo intiina halkaan fadhida waxaan wada oranaynaa arrin heer caalamiya amuurta in laga dhigo nanu ababulo dhammaan adeegyada dowladiyo hay-adaha awoodda u leh arrinta inay wax ka qabtaan xalkeenanu waa ilaf marka orahdeen iyo murtida adduunka qofkii maqliyo intiina halkaan fadhida waxaan wada oranaynaa arrin heer caalamiya amuurta in laga dhigo nanu ababulo dhammaan adeegyada dowladiyo hay-adaha awoodda u leh arrinta inay wax ka qabtaan xalkeenanu waa ilaf marka halkeena nuwaa ilaf marka halkeena nuwaa ilaf marka halkeena nuwaa ilaf marka
They're from the Mama Ugaso Academy. And for those who didn't understand what these youngsters were saying, if I can give you an example of what they're saying, I loved their conclusion, the last part, but I'm going to save that for the last. So they were talking about malnutrition, they were talking about hunger, they were saying the solution is to make an appeal to all the partners and everybody involved to support the fight against hunger, to support the fight against malnutrition, for children not to die of hunger, and that they need support, especially children who are under 5 years of age. They said it is, they appealed for this issue of fighting hunger to be made an international issue. And their conclusion was, our solution is enough. That's what they said. The solution is enough. And it also relates with the message that we're trying to give out today. So I think a round of applause for the genius behind that song. Yes. So thank you very much, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It is my sincere pleasure now to invite the World Vision Somalia Director, Mr. Kevin Paul Mackey, to give the vote of thanks before we do the confetti, the celebration, and then we put the commitments that we made today into action. Welcome, Excellency.
Let me first start by thanking the children who have spoken today, Hawa Muhammad, Abdi Muhammad, and Samaya. Thank you for the call to action. We've heard your expectations. You'd like us to look at the challenges posed by climate change. We've heard how you would like clean water. We've listened to how with sufficient food, with nutritious food, you have the energy to learn in school, you have the energy to go out and play. We've heard. It's now on us to act in partnership with you. We've also listened to government. We've heard the wisdom of government. We've heard the experiences of government. We know what is possible in Somalia. We've also heard their insights into what tangible actions we can work on as government, as NGOs, as civil society, to improve food security, to strengthen food systems in Somalia. We've also listened to the potential for the National Transformation Plan to provide us direction, to harness our energies, to bring together our expertise in service of creating a food-secure Somalia and addressing malnutrition. I wanted to thank our partners from the UN for joining us in this conversation, for also presenting to us the work that we are all already doing together. We've heard from partners like the WFP around trying to understand the nutrition situation of children in the country through the nutrition survey. We've heard from the FAO and working in partnership with them on projects like the JOS, which are large-scale transformational investments in Somalia, daring investments in complex places. We've also been reminded by our colleague from UNICEF about who's the boss here. The boss is our children. The boss are the people sitting just in the back here. This is who we're doing the work for. We're doing the work for The children of today who are the adults of tomorrow, who are the future of Somalia. We've heard from the group who was singing to us and from other participants in this conversation that the world has enough food. The world has enough resources. Children have had enough of not having sufficient food. And that's a challenge to us. Are we doing enough? Are we harnessing our creativity enough? Are we collaborating enough to realize a future without malnutrition? And with that, I'd like to draw this launch campaign event to a close, and I'd like to end with saying we've started something today. This is a call to action, and we'll be reaching out to you as World Vision in collaboration in the same way we've reached out to you to organize this event, to plan and think through next steps of how we can all work together collaboratively to make sure that this is not one event, but this is the first step on a journey. So thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you very much, the Country Director for World Vision, Mr. Kevin Mackey, the Country Director of World Vision Somalia. A special acknowledgement also to everyone who attended today's event. I would like to formally announce that we will have a photo session, and the photo session will be the World Vision Regional Director, the Country Director, humanitarian partners from the international community, also the Somali partners as well. And they will be flanked with children from Maugaso, and also Sumaya, Hawa and Ahmed will join the photo. I'd also like to draw attention to the campaign signature book and the guest book also, so that we can be able to sign. And then we're going to have a confetti and officially announce that we are fighting hunger and ending malnutrition by saying enough. Repeat after me, enough. Enough is? Let's follow it up with serious commitments. Let it not end here. Thank you very much. Also, I'd like to make another announcement that all the panelists and all the speakers should also come to the front also for the photo session, please. And after that, we're going to break for lunch. Lunch is on the house. Okay. The first picture will be the speakers and the panelists who are speaking here today, and also the children. And then we can do the random photos afterwards. Okay. Okay. How do you want it to be done? So should I? Dadki barnaamijka ka soo qayb galay, the speakers, the panelists, please come to the front. Humanitarian partners, all the speakers and the panelists, yes. qof allaala oo khudbo ka jeediya meeshii ama panelka ku jiray waxaa laga codsanaya inuu sawirka soo galo. qof allaala oo soo hadlay oo khudbo ku lahaa meesha. Yes. Yes. All the panelists, all the speakers, please come to the stage for the photo session. If you spoke at the podium, please come to the front for photo session. I'm supposed to inform everybody that the confetti session will happen here. Where the confetti? Take this book. Yeah, no, أنا was هذا badan kana asan la buufin raba markina sawir ku wada gashi ku wada jirtina raba dad badan oo qofka kula hayn soo dhawaada ha ama kor ama hoos meel un ama caruurta gadaashooda fiican dad beenay baashi loo garaaco konfetiga
Hasan, standing wow kamera. Wahir kita buat cerai dah kamera tekno. Maya tekno lo sahaja sudah. Atau iya salah kibis tekno. Pakai mahal kita beli nama.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولا ليال كل جينا إيمانه كونفنتي بالكي أو لونجيغان عن عياري ربنا صقل قاسم عبد السلام صقل بليز محمد صقل كل جينا عن صقلنا بليز ماذا صقل أديك حتى صقل تمام Come, everyone to come, everyone. Nishat, Yani, join Hanan. Come. Okay. Okay. Children. Sumaya Hawa iyo Awen. Wakwan. Okay. Haye. Wa idin tirina. I'll count, yeah? I'll count. Ready? 1, 2. Where's the book? Where's the book? The big one. Yeah, yes. Okay, okay, I will count. Okay, dear Mateen. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so okay, thank you all. Thank you very much.
What is